Chapter 720. The blood-colored light beam blasted above the seventh asteroid. Horrifying gales of cosmic winds swept across the cold and silent universe, and the cosmic void continued to shatter in the darkness. Then, a beam of pink light suddenly lit up the dark universe, and a giant pink light orb appeared from the shattered void. The size of this light orb was no smaller than the seventh asteroid, and there was a brilliant light flowing on it like a giant bubble. This was the secret realm of the universe. The existence of the secret realm of the universe did not come in a single form. Instead, it came in many forms. Sometimes it came in the form of a water droplet, a bubble, or even a rock that hid a secret realm. Just one punch is enough to make the secret realm of the universe appear from the void. TSK, a half-step Downlord is indeed extraordinary. Chu Kuangren was amazed. At that moment, Bai Juexin attacked again. He punched out once more, and another beam of light wrapped around a small world shot out. Originally, it would have taken the power of 10 upper-level celestial venerables to break open the barrier of the mystic realm, but with a single punch, a crack appeared. Through the crack, everyone could see what was inside the secret realm. Just like its pink exterior, the inside of the secret realm was also pink. Inside, there were a large number of pink crystals either floating in the air, growing on the ground, or existing in all kinds of strange forms. It was a world filled with pink crystals. Let's go in and have a look. Bai Juexin waved his hand and said. Instantly, the warships plunged into the pink secret realm. The crack that Bai Juexin had opened was also healing itself at an extremely fast speed. By the time all the warships had entered, the crack was almost completely healed. At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared above the crack. Without any hesitation, he flew in before the crack was completely healed. Upon entering the pink secret realm, Chu Kuangren immediately felt a surge of extremely pure spiritual power gushing towards him. Chu Kuangren absorbed it into his body, and realized that he could easily refine this spiritual power even without the universal cauldron physique. Now let's see what treasures there are here. Chu Kuangren activated his treasure locating skill. The auras of various treasures spread from all directions. The treasure hunt has officially begun. Chu Kuangren grinned. Inside the pink secret realm, Chu Kuangren followed the auras of the treasures and arrived at a mountain range that was made up of countless crystals. He went deep into the mountains and found a strange crystal-like flower. This is the 17th heavenly crystal flower, right? Chu Kuangren plucked the mystical flower. The rare celestial crystal flower was the name of the treasure that Chu Kuangren had obtained from Xiao AI's analysis. The function of this flower was not much different from a spiritual source. Both could be used to increase one's cultivation level, and one rare celestial crystal flower was equivalent to 100 emperor-grade spiritual sources. In this pink secret realm, these strange flowers were the most numerous. It took Chu Kuangren less than a day to find 17 of them. However, even though he had the treasure-seeking technique, he was only one person, and couldn't compare to the mighty army of the blood race. According to Yu Xiaowu's secret message, the blood kindred had excavated more than 600 rare flowers. Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin. A single person's energy is limited after all. Looks like I'll have to speed up my analysis of the spatial structure of this place, so that I can use my spatial conveyor technique freely, and carry out my second plan. His second plan required the support of teleportation. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to realize. 2 days later, inside a huge blood kindred warship, a blood kindred heavenly venerable was instructing his soldiers to count the treasures they had plundered from the secret realm before storing them into his yin and yang ring. It was the right decision to follow the prince into this secret realm. It's only been a few days and we've already found so many treasures. Even if I get 100th of them when I return, it'll be enough for my strength to improve by leaps and bounds. The blood kindred heavenly venerable was full of smiles. This was only the harvest of his team. The rest had yet to be accounted for. Wow, there's quite a lot of treasures here. At that moment, an unfamiliar voice suddenly rang out from the warship. The blood kindred heavenly venerable's expression changed as he looked towards the source of the voice. All he saw was a white-robed figure appearing on the warship. This aura, you're a firmament star cultivator. The blood kindred heavenly venerable was shocked. The firmament star cultivators and the blood kindred cultivators lived on different planets, so it was easy for a smart cultivator to identify each other's aura. He did not expect that there would be a firmament star cultivator in this secret realm. Haven't they all run away? Without much thought, the blood kindred heavenly venerable ordered his subordinates to attack. Kill. Firmament star cultivator. Are you here to die? How foolish. One by one, the blood kindred charged towards Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren raised his hand and opened his mini-realm. In an instant, the blood kindred soldiers that were charging towards him exploded into blood mists. The blood kindred heavenly venerable's expression changed. It's a heavenly venerable. He opened his own mini-realm as well. However, he was just an ordinary lower-level heavenly venerable, which was far weaker than Chu Kuangren. Without any suspense, his mini-realm crumbled the moment it collided with Chu Kuangren's mini-realm. Die. An indifferent voice rang out. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and locked his sword ray onto the blood kindred heavenly venerable. As the sword ray swept past, the heavenly venerable's head was tossed high into the air. The commander is dead. This firmament star cultivator is a heavenly venerable. Run. The blood kindred cultivators on the warship panicked and fled in all directions. However, they were trapped in Chu Kuangren's mini-realm, so there was nowhere for them to go. In just a short while they were all killed. After that, Chu Kuangren began to loot the warship's treasures. From the blood kindred heavenly venerables Yin and Yang ring, he found close to 1,000 celestial wonder flowers. This is indeed much faster than me searching alone. A satisfied smile appeared on Chu Kuangren's face. Who should I look for next? Chu Kuangren's emperor's thought surged and covered a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers. Naturally, his emperor's thought could cover more than that. However, this secret realm was filled with blood kindred cultivators. If he spread his emperor's thought too wide, he would be easily detected by the emperors and heavenly venerables. All right, it's you then. Chu Kuangren locked his sights on a blood kindred warship that was tens of thousands of kilometers away. He cast his spatial conveyor technique and disappeared. Not long after, another blood kindred warship fell, and a large number of treasures from the secret realm fell into Chu Kuangren's hands. Somewhere, Bai Juexin was enjoying the service of a few blood kindred beauties on the warship's deck, when a blood kindred heavenly venerable suddenly walked up to him. Prince, we've discovered firmament star cultivators in the secret realm. Oh. How many are there? One. One? Bai Juexin was stunned for a moment before he said with some dissatisfaction. If there's only one, then we can just find a few others to deal with him. Do you think such a small matter is worth reporting to me? Prince, this person is a heavenly venerable. Most importantly, he specializes in some kind of spatial technique, so it's very difficult for our people to track him down. Now he has killed a few of our heavenly venerables and taken away all the treasures from the secret realm that they found. Upon hearing that, Bai Juexin frowned and snorted. What a bunch of useless trash. Do you mean I have to deal with him myself? He slowly got up, and then his emperor's thought spread out like a tidal wave. Soon it enveloped the entire secret realm. Chapter 721. Bai Juexin's mighty emperor's thought enveloped the entire secret realm, as he began to search for traces of Chu Kuangren. Naturally, Chu Kuangren had also sensed the fluctuations of his opponent's emperor thought. Is he already here? Although Chu Kuangren knew that he could not defeat Bai Juexin now, he was not afraid. Found you. Bai Juexin's eyes narrowed as his emperor's thought locked onto Chu Kuangren. His figure then turned into a stream of light and flew towards his opponent. Its speed was so fast that it could travel millions of kilometers in an instant. At the same time, Bai Juexin's small world also unfolded. With just a thought, his small world enveloped a radius of 10,000 miles. And it was still expanding. Even if Chu Kuangren possessed the spatial conveyance technique, it would be difficult for him to use it freely once he was enveloped by Chu Kuangren's little world. Of course, Chu Kuangren would not give him the chance to do so. Before Bai Juexin arrived, Chu Kuangren had already cast his spatial conveyor technique and left. Oh, the spatial structure of this secret realm is different from the outside world. I didn't expect you to be able to teleport so easily. This spatial technique is indeed impressive. But where do you think you can escape to? Bai Juexin's voice spread throughout the entire secret realm. Everyone knew that he was chasing after Chu Kuangren. Through his emperor's thought, he once again locked onto Chu Kuangren's position. However, Chu Kuangren had once again used his spatial conveyor technique to escape. Just like that, one was chasing while the other was constantly teleporting. This chase lasted for a full 6 hours. Forget about capturing Chu Kuangren. Bai Juexin did not even have the chance to envelop Chu Kuangren with his mini-world. Unless your pocket world can cover the entire secret realm, you will only be able to look at my back forever. Chu Kuangren chuckled and said. His voice was not loud. However, Bai Juexin, who had locked onto him with the emperor's will, could hear everything clearly. His expression instantly darkened. Bastard. He channeled his monarch chi to increase his speed to the maximum. However, no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than teleportation? Bai Juexin could surpass the speed of light and travel millions of miles in an instant, but Chu Kuangren could travel anywhere in the secret realm with just a thought. How could it only span millions of miles? Another few hours passed. Bai Juexin still could not catch Chu Kuangren. Just as he was enraged, a sword light wrapped in majestic emperor chi suddenly descended from the sky above his head. Chu Kuangren was the one who had unleashed that attack, and he had used the spatial conveyor technique to move it above his head. Chu Kuangren sent a sword strike towards Bai Juexin from millions of miles away. This sword came with great momentum, containing the might of an invincible technique. Even if an ordinary Empyrean blocked it with all their strength, it would be difficult for them to escape death. Bai Juexin shouted as he slapped his palm toward the sky. Blood-colored Emperor Qi gathered and forcefully dispersed the sword. Your sword is too weak. Bai Juexin said coldly. Oh really? Chu Kuangren chuckled playfully. After that, at a certain spot in the secret realm, the space above a blood tribe warship suddenly warped, and then a ray of purple sword light descended from the sky. With a deafening explosion, the battleship was split into two, and a large number of blood race cultivators died under the ravaging sword chi. Of course, Bai Juexin noticed that. At that moment, his pale face quickly turned red because of his extreme anger. He was so angry that his body could not help but tremble. So what if those blood race cultivators died? He did not care. However, Chu Kuangren's actions were a slap to his face. As the leader of this operation, not only could he not deal with Chu Kuangren, but he could not even protect his own people. Was there anything more humiliating than that? Firmament human, tell me your name. I'm your father. D****. B** starred. You'd better not fall into my hands. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer every punishment in the blood tribe. Bai Juexin was so angry that he almost lost his mind. In the face of Bai Juexin's rage, Chu Kuangren curled his lips. He raised his hand and unleashed a sword attack. Far away, another warship was destroyed. Bai Juexin's angry roar echoed throughout the entire secret realm. Everyone gather. Don't let this person take us down one by one. Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique was too shameless. Others might not be able to catch him, but he could attack at will. All the blood tribe cultivators, including Bai Juexin, were just targets to him. The only thing the blood tribe cultivators could do now was to gather together and follow Bai Juexin to ensure that Chu Kuangren would not take them down one by one. Meanwhile, Bai Juexin had also given up on hunting Chu Kuangren and returned to his warship. However, the blood tribe had scattered their troops to various places to collect the treasures in the secret realm. Hence, it would take some time to gather together. During that time, Chu Kuangren had swiftly taken down more than 10 warships and looted a large amount of treasures. 2 days later, all the blood tribe cultivators who had entered the secret realm had gathered together. However, compared to their high spirits when they first entered the secret realm, they were now dejected and dispirited. They did not expect that Chu Kuangren would appear in this trip to the secret realm, which caught them off guard. Not a single one of the hundreds of millions of blood tribe cultivators could do anything to Chu Kuangren. All of them were suppressed by a single person. D****, this guy's spatial techniques are too shameless. We can't even catch him. On the contrary, this guy can even attack us at will. Among us, besides the prince, no one else is a match for him. However, with his spatial techniques, even the prince can't do anything to him. This is just too frustrating. The blood race heavenly venerables gathered together and discussed with each other. In front of them, Bai Jueshin's expression was extremely grim. He was also thinking about how to deal with Chu Kuangren. However, no matter how hard he thought, he could not think of a way to restrain his opponent's spatial techniques. Unless it's the Daelord's small world or the origin of this secret realm, we can't do anything to him. Bai Jueshin took a deep breath and said helplessly, the Daelord's small world could cover the entire secret realm. No matter how powerful his opponent's spatial techniques were, he could not freely use them in someone else's small world. However, the Blood Tribe Daelords and the Firmament Star Daelords were fighting each other, so they rarely took the initiative to attack. Besides, they did not have any Daelords in their team. As for the second method, controlling the secret realm's origin was even more difficult than getting a Daelord to attack. As the name suggested, the secret realm's origin was the original energy of this secret realm. Controlling the secret realm's origin was equivalent to controlling the entire secret realm. However, the secret realm's origin was different from other treasures. It was hidden very well, and was very difficult to find. Even if it was discovered, it was impossible for a heavenly honorable to refine and control it. We'll deal with this guy later. Let's continue to excavate the secret realm. As long as we're together, that guy won't be able to do anything. Bai Jueshin said indifferently. Even so, with so many blood tribe cultivators gathered together and excavating in the same direction, the efficiency of collecting treasures was greatly reduced. On the other hand, after Chu Kuangren had collected more than 10 blood tribe warships, he continued to search for the most valuable treasures in the secret realm with his treasure locating skill. Chapter 722. Chu Kuangren entered the secret realm and wreaked havoc in the blood tribe, forcing them to gather together under Bai Jueshin's protection. After that, Chu Kuangren used his treasure locating skill to search for the most valuable treasures in the secret realm of this universe. On this day, Chu Kuangren arrived at a pink crystal mountain range. Here, he once again collected a few rare flowers. However, just as he was about to leave, a strange fluctuation came. It was a very weak fluctuation. Chu Kuangren even suspected that he was hallucinating. He used his treasure locating skill to confirm again, but there was no fluctuation either. He frowned. Could it really be an illusion? Chu Kuangren found it hard to believe. He used his treasure locating skill again and again to confirm again and again. When he used it for the 18th time, the weak fluctuation appeared again. Just like the first time, it disappeared in an instant. However, that was enough for Chu Kuangren to confirm that something was wrong. It's not an illusion. There really is some kind of treasure here, but it's so well hidden that even my treasure locating skill almost missed it. What could it be? Chu Kuangren smiled excitedly. He began to explore the source of that strange fluctuation. That strange fluctuation came from the depths of the mountain range. Chu Kuangren used his treasure locating skill again and slowly went deeper into the mountain range. Soon he arrived at the end of the mountain range. It was a huge pink crystal mountain wall. The source of that strange fluctuation came from this mountain wall. However, to Chu Kuangren's senses, this mountain wall was just like any other ordinary crystal mountain wall. There was nothing special about it at all. There must be something special about this mountain wall that the treasure locating skill is reacting to, Chu Kuangren murmured. However, he did not approach it hastily. Xiao AI, help me analyze this crystal mountain wall. Yes, master. Connecting to the consciousness of the universe. Beginning analysis of target. This mountain wall consists of spirit crystals, minerals, and a small amount of metal. It has the ability to isolate senses. The crystal mountain wall's information was analyzed one by one, but what caught Chu Kuangren's attention the most was the ability to isolate senses. Isolate senses? Could it be to prevent the treasures inside this mountain wall from being discovered? Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin and muttered, Master, this mountain wall is hollow. At that moment, the all-knowing spirit, Xiao AI's voice rang in his mind. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. It was hollow. Did that mean that there was really some treasure hidden inside? The descendant self sword on Chu Kuangren's waist was unsheathed with a clang. A purple sword chi slashed across and landed on the mountain wall. The mountain wall shook, and a few broken pink crystals fell off. This is way too hard. Chu Kuangren could not help but exclaim as he stared at the mountain wall. That sword attack earlier could even break an emperor weapon. However, there was no way to break through this mountain wall. Xiao Ai, where is the weakest part of this cliff? According to the analysis, the weakest part of this mountain wall is 1 meter thick. With the strength of Master's sword chi, it is impossible to break it. Then can I only enter the treasure mountain and return empty-handed? Chu Kuangren said unwillingly. According to the analysis, high temperature can soften this crystal mountain wall. High temperature. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Then he gently raised his hand and a crimson phoenix flame appeared in the middle of his palm. In terms of temperature, how many flames in this world could compare to the divine phoenix fire? Go. After Chu Kuangren had determined the weakest part of the mountain wall, he released the phoenix flame and struck it at the crystal mountain wall. Under the burning of the phoenix flame, the mountain wall visibly softened. Chu Kuangren condensed his emperor's Qi Daoist patterns and unleashed another sword attack on the softened mountain wall, instantly tearing a hole. Seizing the opportunity, Chu Kuangren entered the hole in a flash. The inside of the mountain wall was still a sea of pink. There was an extremely spacious inner space here. What appeared before Chu Kuangren was a pink tree. Its trunk and leaves were all crystals, and there were countless Daoist patterns intertwining on its body, forming clear veins. Chu Kuangren could not help but shudder at the first sight of the tree. His instincts told him that it was a valuable treasure. Xiao Ai, analyze it. Analyzing. Target Level 1 Secret Realm Origin. Information regarding the secret realm's origin gushed into Chu Kuangren's mind, allowing him to confirm that this was indeed an incredible treasure. The secret realm origin is the core energy of the secret realm. As long as I can refine it, this secret realm will be under my complete control. Not only that, but this secret realm origin contains the mysteries of a world, which will greatly benefit my understanding of the small world. However, refining a secret realm origin was not an easy task. Even a Daoist master might not be able to do it. Chu Kuangren approached the secret realm origin and placed his hand on it. Suddenly, the veins of the tree were fully revealed to him. Countless Daoist patterns intertwined within it, which was extremely mysterious. In order to refine this origin, one must first understand the mysteries within it. If it were any other cultivator, they would feel dizzy and unable to understand the mysteries within even a single glance. However, Chu Kuangren's greatest strength was his perception. Just because others can't refine it doesn't mean I can't. The greatest opportunity of fortune in this secret realm is right in front of me. How can I miss it so easily? Chu Kuangren murmured. He then began to understand the mysteries contained within the secret realm origin. Time passed. 10 days had passed. Inside the secret realm, Bai Juexin led a group of blood tribe cultivators to excavate all kinds of treasures in the secret realm, and their harvest was increasing. That made Bai Juexin feel much better. That firmament star cultivator is all alone. How many treasures can he possibly find in this secret realm? I'm afraid he can't even compare to 1/100th of what we have. Bai Juexin snorted as he sat on a chair. Behind him, 2 beautiful blood tribe ladies were massaging his shoulders. They replied with a smile. You're right, Prince. He's just a firmament star cultivator. How can he compare to our hundreds of millions of soldiers? That's right. He's all alone. Forget 100th, even 1,000th would be overestimating him. I wonder where he is now, Bai Juexin said. Then his emperor's thoughts surged out and covered the entire secret realm, trying to find Chu Kuangren. He could not help but frown. He's gone? From what he could sense, Chu Kuangren had disappeared. Did he leave the secret realm? That's impossible. This secret realm's barrier can only be opened by the combined strength of 10 upper heavenly honorables. How did he leave? Bai Juexin's emperor's thought continued to spread out, searching for Chu Kuangren's whereabouts over and over again. However, he could not find anything. Chu Kuangren had really disappeared. How can this be? Does he really have a way to leave the secret realm? When Bai Juexin thought of Chu Kuangren's profound spatial technique, He felt that it was not impossible. At that thought, his face was so gloomy that it looked like it was about to drip water. At first, he thought that Chu Kuangren would not be able to leave the secret realm by himself. He thought that he would first excavate the treasures in the secret realm, then slowly come up with a way to deal with him. But now Chu Kuangren had disappeared? This caused his plan to fail once again. D****. Chapter 723. Forget it. As long as he's still in the extraterrestrial battlefield, I'll find a way to find him. When that time comes, I'll make his life a living hell. A cold glint flashed across Bai Juexin's eyes. He was the son of the Blood King of the Blood Tribe. His status was highly respected, so it was easy for him to find someone in the extraterrestrial battlefield. I've looted most of the treasures in this secret realm, but I still haven't found the origin of the secret realm. It seems like I won't be able to find it. I'll search for a few more days. If I still can't find him, I'll have to leave. It's about time for the firmament star to send someone over. Bai Juexin murmured. Boom. At that moment, the entire pink secret realm suddenly shook. A crack suddenly appeared in the sky above the Blood Tribe cultivators. From the crack, battleships flew out one after another. Bai Juexin smiled when he saw that. What a coincidence. I was just thinking about it, but they're already here. Those battleships belong to the cultivators from the firmament star. Most of the battleships were labeled with the numbers 16, 17, and 18, which meant that most of the cultivators were from those few fortresses. In fact, those 3 fortresses were the closest to the number 7 space band, so it was reasonable that they were the first to arrive. Among them, the leading Heavenly Honorable was the Guardian General of Fortress number 17, the Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable. He had personally led the expedition to the secret realm. Why are all the Blood Tribe cultivators gathered together? What's going on? The Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable was a little surprised. Are they planning to leave? The bearded commander beside the Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable said. That was not a good sign. It meant that the other party had looted most of the treasures in this secret realm. Otherwise, why would they leave? Let me find out where Brother Chu is. The Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable's emperor's thought instantly spread out and covered the entire secret realm. However, just like Bai Juexin, he could not find any trace of Chu Kuangren. There were only 2 possibilities. Either Chu Kuangren had left the secret realm, or he had fallen. The first possibility was that if Chu Kuangren had entered the secret realm, he would not be able to open the secret realm and leave on his own. In that case, only the second possibility remained. Thinking of this, the Ghostblade Heavenly Venerate's face darkened. Beside him, Yan Honghua, who had met Empyrean Ghostblade on the way here, couldn't help but feel her heart skip a beat when she saw Empyrean Ghostblade's face. Grandfather, what's the situation? There is no trace of fellow Taoist Chu. Empyrean Ghostblade shook his head. Hearing this, Yan Honghua's face instantly turned pale. He didn't find it. Does that mean he's already? That's not necessarily the case. Fellow Taoist Chu is an amazing talent. He doesn't seem to be someone with a short life. Ghostblade Heavenly Lord comforted him. However, even he didn't have much hope in his heart. There were simply too many vampires in front of him. They numbered in the hundreds of millions, and there were many heavenly exalts amongst them. There were even half-step Daolords like Bai Juexin. In his opinion, Chu Kuangren, a lower-level heavenly honorable, would never be able to deal with these beings for so many days. Although he was very reluctant to admit it, Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade knew that the other party had most likely perished. Benefactor, I've let you down. Ghostblade Heavenly Venerate sighed in his heart. Chu Kuangren had come to him with the token of his benefactor, Qi Xing. However, Qi Xing had died in the hands of the Blood Tribe, which made him feel very guilty. Brother Chu, I'll definitely avenge you. Ghostblade Heavenly Venerate thought to himself as he looked at the Blood Tribe's warship with an extremely cold murderous intent. Blood Tribe, prepare to die. Ghostblade Heavenly Venerate roared and took a step forward. The energy on his body exploded, and a giant pitch-black saber shadow formed behind him. Around him, the firmament star Heavenly Venerates also rushed out and activated their lesser worlds one after another. enveloping the entire area. When the Firmament Star cultivators and the Blood Tribe met, there was nothing much to say. Kill. The hatred between the two sides had been going on for countless years, and there was no end to it. Seeing that the Firmament Star Heavenly Venerates had activated their lesser worlds, the Blood Tribe's Heavenly Venerates could no longer sit still and flew into the sky. Haha, Firmament Star cultivators, you're too late. We've already taken most of the treasures in this secret realm. The most you can do now is collect the leftovers that we don't want. That's right. What's the use of coming here? You're just here to die. Humph. I'll vent the anger I suffered from that damn guy on you. Die. The Blood Tribe Heavenly Venerates also activated their lesser worlds. One by one, the lesser worlds collided, causing the entire secret realm to shake violently. The Heavenly Venerates fought with the Heavenly Venerates until the sky darkened. Meanwhile, the Emperors had also begun to fight. Kill. Blood Tribe die. We can't let these Blood Tribe members bring back the resources in this secret realm. Brothers, kill. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Long live the Blood Tribe. The cultivators below the Monarch realm clashed together like a torrent. For a time, both sides were locked in a fierce battle. Broken limbs, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Yen Honghua led the red uniform guards and charged into the battlefield below the Emperors. One by one, the Blood Tribe members died under their charge. Yen Honghua stabbed out with her spear. The domineering spear force was so overbearing that it blasted a Blood Tribe Emperor, who wanted to ambush her into pieces. Then, she looked at the battle between the Heavenly Venerates in the sky. She knew that the key to the outcome of this battle lay with the Heavenly Venerates. This was especially true for the leaders of both sides. In the sky, the Emperor aura on Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade's body crisscrossed. Dao patterns interweaved and formed a huge pitch-black saber shadow behind him, emitting a terrifying might. His lesser world only covered a radius of 10 miles, but no one dared to approach within 10 miles. The blood origin power on your body is very rich. You must have a high status in the Blood Tribe to have such a degree of blood origin power, Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade said coldly as he looked at Bai Jueshin. Blood origin power was a unique power of the Blood Tribe. The richer the blood origin power was, the greater the talent and potential of the other party. Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade had only seen a few blood origin power of Bai Jueshin's level in the foreign battlefield in so many years. It's the son of the Blood King of the Bai clan, Bai Jueshin. Bai Jueshin flew up from the warship and said indifferently. His identity as the son of the Blood King surprised Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade slightly, but the murderous intent in his eyes almost materialized. I believe that killing the son of the Blood King is a big loss for the Blood Tribe. I'm sure the higher-ups of Firmament Star will have a headache after killing the Fortress Master. Bai Jueshin said tit for tat. Kill. Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade snorted softly as his murderous intent soared. The pitch-black saber shadow behind him slashed out. As Bai Jueshin raised his hand, a dark red greatsword appeared in his hand. With a slash, the dark red sword ray collided with the saber shadow. There was a loud explosion, and the entire secret realm was shaken. Then, Bai Jueshin released his lesser world. The collision of the lesser worlds of the two Heavenly Venerates caused the surrounding void to distort and explode. Chapter 724. As the Master of the Stronghold, Ghostblade Heavenly Master's strength was undeniable. He was definitely a top Heavenly Master. He was also a half-step Dao Lord, and his battle prowess was almost on par with Bai Jueshin's. Boom. 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 The small worlds of the two powerhouses collided, causing the void to explode continuously. The power of the world turned into a storm that swept out, shattering the surrounding crystal stone mountains. As expected of the Stronghold Master, you are indeed powerful. Bai Jueshin held the large sword in his hand. Then, majestic Emperor Qi gathered in it, and Dao patterns intertwined as he slashed out again. The power of this slash far surpassed the previous sword light, and it displayed Bai Jueshin's Dao to the extreme. This was profound. First sword of the 3 slashes of annihilation. Ghostblade Heavenly Master looked serious as he faced this slash. He raised his hand gently. Ghost-slaying Heavenly Blade. Amidst the rumbling, A large amount of Emperor Qi and Dao patterns once again interweaved into pitch-black saber shadows, and the saber shadows gradually reflected countless ferocious evil spirits. Ghost howls resounded throughout the world, and resentment filled the void, making everyone shudder. The blade shadow and the sword light collided, and the two Dao patterns intertwined before finally collapsing. Both Ghost Blade Heavenly Master and Bai Juexin were also affected by the impact. They were pushed back hundreds of feet, and their bodies were also injured. Take another slash. Second sword of the 3 slashes of annihilation. Bai Juexin attacked again, and an even more terrifying sword light erupted. Come on! Ghost Blade Heavenly Master roared, pushing his Emperor Qi to the extreme. The blade shadow and sword light collided again, and the entire secret realm shook violently. After this attack, the two powerhouses were injured again. I'll let you see my third slash. Bai Juexin soared into the sky, and a powerful suction force erupted from his body. Countless blood mists surged out of the corpses of the blood race around him, rushing toward him like rivers flowing into the sea. This was the blood race's divine ability, blood darkness power. Bai Juexin's aura skyrocketed with the support of a large amount of blood race origin power. He swung the large sword in his hand, and the mighty sword light descended in an even more domineering manner. Empyrean Ghost Blade took a deep breath, and black mist began to swirl around his body. Countless evil spirits were crawling within the mist. These evil spirits gradually climbed onto his body and turned into countless black patterns. Thousand Ghosts Entanglement. Purgatory Slash. Empyrean Ghost Blade roared and used a secret technique to increase his strength. With one slash, thousands of evil spirits seemed to interweave into a terrifying purgatory, and within that purgatory, a resplendent saber light bloomed. When the sword and saber collided for the third time, everyone only saw a brilliant burst of light. Black and red intertwined and dyed most of the sky. Within the light, there were countless Dao patterns circulating. After a while, the saber light purgatory and the tyrannical sword Qi both dissipated. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Master and Bai Juexin hovered in the air. Their auras were much weaker than before, and there were many more injuries on their bodies. The result was an internecine outcome. Haha, it's been a long time since someone has been able to injure me to this extent. As expected of the general guarding a fortress. Bai Juexin laughed out loud. Then he flipped his hand and took out a drop of dark red blood. That drop of blood contained surging energy fluctuations, and its terrifying domineering aura enveloped half of the battlefield. Empyrean Ghost Blade's expression changed. Daelord's blood essence. Inside the crystal mountain wall, Chu Kuangren was refining the secret realm's origin. The Dao patterns within the secret realm's origin were too mysterious. Even with Chu Kuangren's level of enlightenment, he could not fully understand them in a short period of time. However, these 10 days were enough for him to refine a portion of it and gain a basic understanding of this secret realm. Now all he needed to do was to use his mind, and all the sceneries and treasures in this secret realm would be presented to him. This secret realm was no longer a secret to him. Not only that, but because he had refined a portion of the secret realm's origin, his cultivation level had also risen to the intermediate heavenly honorable realm. However, that was only the smallest benefit he had gained this time. His biggest gain was that his small world had received a massive upgrade. His understanding of the small world's usage had increased by several levels during the process of learning the secret realm's origin. That was a huge help to him. It's the Empyrean Ghost Blade and the others. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren sensed that a battle was taking place in the secret realm. Seeing that the Empyrean Ghost Blade and the others were about to fall into a disadvantageous position, Chu Kuangren knew it was time for him to make a move. Daelord's blood essence. The Empyrean Ghost Blade could not help but exclaim when he saw the drop of blood in Bai Juexin's hand. That's right. This is a drop of my father's blood essence. None of the firmament cultivators who came to the secret realm today shall leave this place alive. Bai Juexin laughed before he swallowed the drop of Daelord's blood essence into his stomach. An incredibly violent aura erupted from his body. His cultivation level was rising at an insane rate. Soon, he had crossed the threshold of the Dao Lord realm. Is this the power of a Dao Lord? It's so powerful. Bai Juexin was intoxicated by it. Below him, countless firmament star cultivators could not help but feel a sense of despair when they sensed the domineering aura. A Downlord was the pinnacle of combat strength in the extraterrestrial battlefield. The difference between a Downlord and a heavenly venerable was only one realm apart, but the gap between them was unimaginable. Even 100 heavenly venerables could not compare to half a Downlord. Although this drop of blood essence can only keep me in the Downlord realm for an hour, it's more than enough to kill all of you. Bai Juexin said calmly. Then he raised his hand and unleashed his little realm, which instantly enveloped the entire battlefield. With a thought, the firmament cultivators exploded one after another. Heavenly venerables, let's fight this little realm together. The Empyrean Ghost Blade roared. He was the first to unleash his little realm to protect the others. The other heavenly venerables also unleashed their own little realms. The little realms stacked together to form a powerful surge of realm energy. However, the moment it collided with Bai Juexin's little realm, the heavenly venerables' expressions changed as they spat out blood one after another. It's too powerful. Is this the Daelord's little realm? Comparing our little realms to the Daelord's is like comparing a river to an ocean. There's no comparison at all. There's no comparison. The heavenly venerables used all their strength to resist Bai Juexin's little realm. However, they could not hold on for long in the face of absolute power. As the little realms collapsed one after another, the heavenly venerables gradually became exhausted. In the end, only the Empyrean Ghost Blade was left holding on bitterly. However, even a half-step Downlord like the Empyrean Ghost Blade could only hold on for a little longer than the other heavenly venerables in front of Bai Juexin. As the Empyrean Ghost Blade's little realm gradually shattered, Bai Juexin's little realm was about to envelop everyone. Countless people revealed looks of despair. No one can save all of you today. Bai Juexin sneered as he clenched his fist in the void. His little realm instantly crushed the Empyrean Ghost Blade's last bit of resistance. Is that so? Just as Bai Juexin's little realm was about to envelop everyone, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. Accompanying this voice was the little realm formed by crisscrossing Dao patterns in the void. Chapter 725. Oh, is that so? A cold voice echoed in the sky. Just as Bai Juexin's mini-realm was about to engulf everyone, countless Daoist patterns intertwined in the void, and formed a mini-realm that enveloped the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable and the others. The collision of the two mini-realms caused the void to distort. Bai Juexin also immediately sensed the power of the small world that had suddenly intervened in the battlefield. This voice. Is that you? Bai Juexin stared into the distance in shock. All he saw was a white-robed figure slowly descending from the sky. With black hair and a gorgeous ancient sword hanging on his waist, he was as handsome as an immortal. It was Chu Kuangren. Upon seeing him, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable and Yan Honghua were overjoyed. It's Brother Chu. He's not dead. That's great. Compared to the two's ecstasy, the other cultivators were confused. Clearly they were not familiar with Chu Kuangren. Only the emperors and heavenly honorables who had heard of him seemed to be deep in thought. That man is Chu Kuangren. He can fight against a Downlord. If I remember correctly, he only became an emperor a few years ago. How can he fight against a Downlord so quickly? This speed of improvement. Is he lying? Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren in bewilderment. Especially Bai Juexin. A few days ago, Chu Kuangren could only rely on spatial techniques to deal with him. Now he could fight him head-on. Was this a joke? What have you done? Bai Juexin growled and raised his mini-realm to its limit. However, no matter what he did, he could not suppress Chu Kuangren's mini-realm. Isn't it obvious what I've done? My mini-realm is stronger than yours. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Then he gently raised his hand, and the mini-realm's power increased significantly. With a boom, Bai Juexin's mini-realm was suppressed. This scene completely shocked the crowd, especially the cultivators of the Blood Tribe, who could not believe what they were seeing. How could this man become so powerful in just a few days? How could he suppress a Daelord's mini-realm? What has he been through in the past few days? Yan Honghua, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable, and the others were also puzzled. More than 10 days ago, he was only a lesser celestial venerable, but now he could fight against a Downlord. This rate of improvement was simply too ridiculously fast. You've refined the origin of the secret realm, haven't you? Bai Juexin growled. Arcane world source? Upon hearing this, Ghostblade Heavenly Venerate and the others also sensed something. Upon closer inspection, they realized that Chu Kuangren's small world and the secret realm had a very high degree of integration. It was almost as if they had become one. In other words, Bai Juexin was not only fighting against Chu Kuangren's lesser realm, but the entire secret realm as well. Hey, you guessed it. Chu Kuangren chuckled and did not deny it. This is impossible. Impossible. How did you manage to find the secret realm's origin source? Moreover, even a peak heavenly venerable, no, even a Tao master would not be able to refine the secret realm's origin source in such a short period of time. How did you do it? Bai Juexin's expression kept changing. She simply could not believe what had just happened. How can a frog at the bottom of a well know the vastness of the sea and sky? Chu Kuangren looked at Bai Juexin with a look of contempt and disdain. Upon seeing this, Bai Juexin was instantly enraged. He was the Blood Emperor's son, a peak heavenly venerable. Now that he had consumed a Daylord's blood essence, he was even a Downlord. How could someone like him look down on him? So what if you've refined the secret realm's origin source? I'm now a Downlord. I'd like to see how you're going to turn this around. Third obliteration slash. Bai Juexin swung the great sword in his hand. A dazzling sword light swept out in a mighty manner. Upon seeing this, Chu Kuangren unsheathed the descendant self sword at his waist, and unleashed a slash of his own. Surging Emperor's Qi and Taoist patterns fused with realm energy, which contained an invincible might, and clashed with Bai Juexin's sword ray. However, Chu Kuangren's sword Qi easily shattered Bai Juexin's sword Qi and blasted him into the mountains in the distance. Everyone was dumbfounded by this scene. Sending a Downlord flying with a single slash. F***CKme. What kind of combat strength is that? It's too insane. You're too weak as a Downlord. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Bai Juexin dashed out from the mountains and glared at Chu Kuangren with his blood-red eyes. His murderous intent was like never before. I'll kill you. Bai Juexin had never thought that he would be so furious today. Never. First, Chu Kuangren used his spatial technique to walk him around like a dog. Now that he had reached the Downlord realm, he was blasted away by Chu Kuangren's sword in front of everyone. His pride as the Blood Emperor's son was almost rubbed against the ground. Third obliteration slash. Bai Juexin swung his greatsword and activated his Emperor's Qi, Taoist patterns, and realm energy to the limit. Surges of sword Qi that contained an incredibly majestic force erupted, as if they could destroy the world. A single sword Qi was enough to kill a peak heavenly venerable, but there were hundreds of them that were heading towards Chu Kuangren. Faced with such an attack, Chu Kuangren merely reached out his hand and activated the secret realm's origins world energy to form a transparent, crystal-like barrier in the void. Boom, boom, boom. The sword Qi struck the crystal barrier and caused it to explode. Its terrifying might swept across the surroundings and destroyed the surrounding mountains. The ground within a radius of tens of millions of kilometers was filled with craters and cracks. A Daylord's strength could almost destroy the world. However, under such a terrifying attack, Chu Kuangren's crystal barrier was not damaged in the slightest. Not only that, but the Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable, Yan Honghua, and the others behind him were unharmed too. Only the cultivators of the Blood Clan were affected. However, Bai Juexin could not care less. His rage had almost consumed his rationality. All he wanted now was to kill Chu Kuangren with all his might. One sword strike after another was unleashed. However, at that moment, ripples appeared in the void. Streaks of silver-white chains emerged from the void and bound Bai Juexin's limbs, rendering him immobile. Is this a lesser realm? Bai Juexin sensed that the chains did not contain pure realm energy. Instead, they contained a complete lesser realm. Moreover, it was a lesser realm that was enhanced by the secret realm's origin. He can turn a lesser realm into a chain to suppress me. Bai Juexin's pupils shrunk. He was a little shocked. It was rare for a heavenly venerable to be able to shoot a lesser realm like a cannonball. Bai Juexin knew that there were not many people who could surpass him in terms of lesser realms. However, Chu Kuangren could turn a lesser realm into a chain to suppress him. That was much more powerful than when he shot out a lesser realm. Chu Kuangren had not only improved the lesser realm's power, his ability to use the lesser realm had also increased by several levels. Compared to before, it was like heaven and earth. Do you think that's all? Chu Kuangren chuckled. With a lift of his arm, Bai Juexin's sword qi was moved above Bai Juexin using his spatial conveyor technique and returned to him. Chapter 726. Sword qi descended from the sky and slashed at Bai Juexin. Now that he was bound by the chains formed by the small world, it was difficult for him to break free, so he had to endure the sword qi. After a series of loud booms, Bai Juexin's body was severely injured by his own sword qi. The Dao patterns on his body started to crack. How does your own sword qi taste? Chu Kuangren stood in the air and chuckled. Given his current cultivation, it would have been very difficult for him to use the space transportation technique to move Bai Juexin's sword qi. Even if he could do it, he wouldn't be able to control where the sword qi would land. However, now that he had refined the arcane world's source, everything in this arcane world was under his control. Of course, that included space. Damn it, damn it. The Vrarch qi on Bai Juexin's body surged unceasingly. He shrunk his small world to a radius of 3 meters and forcibly broke free from the chains. He slashed out with his sword. The sword light contained the power of a small world. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren too unleashed a sword attack. In the sword light, not only did it show the reversal of the sun and moon and the falling stars, but it also showed the small world that was enhanced by the power of the secret realm. The collision of sword lights was the collision of worlds. A loud sound echoed as Bai Juexin was sent flying again. Chu Kuangren was practically suppressing Bai Juexin. Haha! Bai Juexin, who had been sent flying, suddenly burst into laughter. His eyes were filled with madness. I admit that I'm no match for you in this secret realm. However, even if I die, I'll drag all of you down with me. Bai Juexin had a deranged look on his face. His body shone brightly, and a tyrannical and violent energy fluctuation spread from his body. The Dao patterns on his body actually began to collapse. When Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade and the others sensed the berserk energy fluctuations emanating from Bai Juexin's body, their expressions changed. Not good, he's going to self-destruct. Damn it. Not only the Sky Dome Realm cultivators, even the Blood Race cultivators were panicking. The destruction caused by the self-detonation of a Dao Lord was absolutely unimaginable. And it was even to the extent that it could destroy the entire secret dimension. Of course, the people in the secret world were not spared. Stop him! Empyrean Ghost Blade roared. The Heavenly Venerables activated their small worlds again and pressed down on Bai Juexin. But it was useless. As Bai Juexin raised his hand, the small worlds shattered one after another. Chu Kuangren activated the chains of the small world, but his opponent was already prepared for it. He maintained his small world within a radius of 10 feet. Even if Chu Kuangren's mini-world was reinforced by the secret realm's origin energy, there was no way he could destroy it. All of you shall accompany me in death. Bai Juexin laughed maniacally. His body had already begun to expand, and a peerlessly terrifying aura threatened, easily causing the surrounding void to distort. Chu Kuangren's figure flashed and appeared in front of Bai Juexin. You can't stop me, Bai Juexin roared. Unless Chu Kuangren could kill him in an instant. Otherwise, the self-detonation would not be stopped. But is this possible? His current strength was at the level of a Dao Lord. Even if a Dao Lord personally came, he might not be able to kill him in an instant. Even if Chu Kuangren had the secret realm origins blessing, he was still just a middle-level heavenly honorable. It was impossible for him to do that. Time halt. Chu Kuangren said calmly. An incredibly mysterious fluctuation appeared in the air, covering a radius of 10 meters with him as the center. Even Bai Juexin's mini-world was affected by this fluctuation and stopped operating. What is this? The moment Bai Juexin's mini-world stopped operating, he could not help but reveal a look of horror. It was the first time he had felt such power. Then his horrified expression froze on his face. After a sword ray flashed past, everything returned to normal. However, a bloody gash appeared on Bai Juexin's neck. Before the horrified expression on his face could fade, his head was tossed high into the air. His self-detonation process was also interrupted. Everyone was shocked by this scene. In their eyes, the sword attack that Chu Kuangren had used on Bai Juexin was not very mysterious. In fact, it could even be said to be ordinary. That sword attack should not have been able to kill someone at Bai Juexin's level. Yet it had succeeded. Bai Juexin did not react at all when he was faced with that sword attack. He stood there like a log. What happened just now? Someone gulped, feeling incredulous. Only a few people realized what had happened. For a split second, everything around Chu Kuangren stopped changing. Space, matter, and everything else stopped. It's time. He stopped time. How is this possible? Someone can actually manipulate time. This is a power that is even harder to understand than the soul and space. How can such a technique exist? The heavenly venerables were dumbfounded. A technique that used time. To think that Chu Kuangren could control such a mysterious power. The prince is dead. Compared to the firmament cultivators, the blood tribe was in a panic. With Bai Juexin's death, they had lost their pillar of support. Run. Some of the upper heavenly venerables roared and launched a palm attack at the secret realm, trying to tear open the barrier and leave the secret realm. However, the secret realm barrier that could only be opened by 10 upper heavenly venerables was now useless no matter how hard they attacked. Chu Kuangren had gathered the origin energy of the secret realm and his own mini-world to strengthen the barrier. Trying to escape? You must be dreaming. Chu Kuangren sneered. We'll fight you to the death. Some of the blood tribe heavenly venerables roared and charged at Chu Kuangren. One by one, they unleashed their mini-worlds to fight against Chu Kuangren. Using a mini-world in my world? What a fool. Chu Kuangren lifted his arm and unleashed the origin energy of his mini-world and the secret realm, shattering the heavenly venerables' mini-worlds one by one. Die. Chu Kuangren's mini-world enveloped the entire battlefield. With a thought, the blood tribe, including the emperors, exploded one by one under the pressure of the mini-world's energy. The heavenly venerables only managed to hold on for a little while longer. Not long after, hundreds of millions of blood tribe cultivators were killed. Meanwhile, the firmament star cultivators who witnessed this massacre were all horrified as they stared at Chu Kuangren, who was hovering in midair, in utter shock. After this battle, Chu Kuangren's name would spread across the battlefield. Phew! After the massacre, Chu Kuangren let out a long sigh. He had only refined the secret realm's origin, so the massacre had taken a huge toll on him. The emperor's qi in his body was almost depleted. However, this battle was worth it. Brother Chu, you're so awesome. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate walked up to Chu Kuangren and laughed. The other captains were amazed too. So you're Chu Kuangren? It's an honor to meet you. I've long heard of how amazing Chu Kuangren is. Now that I've seen you in person, I can see that you live up to your reputation. I'm impressed. It's all thanks to you, Brother Chu. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Brother Chu, you're the main contributor in this battle. No one could deny Chu Kuangren's role in this battle. He had single-handedly turned the tide of the battle and annihilated the blood tribe's army. The heavenly venerables and emperors exchanged a few pleasantries with Chu Kuangren before they began to clean up the battlefield. Chapter 727. He had gained a lot from this battle. Apart from killing hundreds of millions of blood tribe members, he had also obtained a large number of treasures from the secret realm. Of course, Chu Kuangren's contribution in this battle was the greatest, and he had already obtained the greatest opportunity of fortune. The secret realm origin was more valuable than all the treasures in the secret realm combined. However, he would not give up on the rest of the treasures either. It was impossible for him to take all of them. He could not use all of them anyway. Chu Kuangren took a portion of the secret realm's treasures to ensure that he could improve his strength as much as possible. As for the rest, he handed them over to the Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate as his army's provisions. Brother Chu, I thank you on behalf of the extraterrestrial soldiers. The ghost blade Heavenly Venerate said solemnly. We're all on the same battlefield now, so there's no need to be so polite. Chu Kuangren said. After spending a few days cleaning up the battlefield, the ghost blade Heavenly Venerate even estimated the number of battle points that Chu Kuangren would receive. Chu Kuangren had killed hundreds of millions of Blood Tribe members, including emperors, Heavenly Venerates, and even Blood King's sons. Excluding those below the honorable realm, there were tens of millions of honorables. Not to mention that there were many sages and emperors among them. In other words, Chu Kuangren would receive tens of millions of battle points this time, which was more than everyone in the 17th fortress. And this is just the number of enemies killed. The secret realm treasures are also a huge amount of battle points. Brother Chu, you can even enter the top 100 of the 81 fortresses' total battle points leaderboard. The ghost blade Heavenly Venerate laughed. Every fortress had its own battle leaderboard, and when all the battle leaderboards were added together, they would form the total battle points leaderboard. Those who could enter the top 100 of the total battle points leaderboard were all famous top-notch cultivators in the extraterrestrial battlefields. Someone like Yan Honghua, who was ranked in the 20s of the 17th fortress's battle points leaderboard, could not be compared to the top 100. Even the ones in the top 100 had at least tens of millions of battle points. Yan Honghua only had a few million battle points. The top 100 of the total battle points leaderboard? Interesting. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Then, the few of them continued their discussion. When the battlefield was almost cleaned up, everyone decided to head back. However, Chu Kuangren did not leave. Instead, he decided to stay in the secret realm. He planned to completely refine the arcane world source before leaving. Heavenly Venerate Ghostblade didn't say much about this. Fellow Taoist Chu, don't worry. I'll definitely handle the battle merits and the resources of the secret realm properly for you. Thank you, General. Chu Kuangren was very confident in the ghostly blade Heavenly Honorable. After living in the general's residence for a few days, Chu Kuangren knew the ghostly blade Heavenly Honorable very well. After the ghost blade Heavenly Honorable and the others left, Chu Kuangren returned to the secret realm origin and continued to refine it. Time flowed, and a month passed. On this day, when Chu Kuangren walked out of the Crystal Mountain Wall, he was in high spirits. Over the past few days, not only had he completely refined the arcane world source, but he had also absorbed many of the treasures he had obtained from the arcane world. His current cultivation base was no longer comparable to that of the past. Upper Celestial Venerable. Moreover, he was a top-notch Upper Heavenly Venerate. Coupled with the small world that he had obtained after comprehending the origin of the mystic realm. Even if he didn't have the freakish ability of stopping time, there was practically no one below the Tao Lord who was a match for him. He was confident that he would be able to defeat someone like Bai Juexing quickly. I'm in a great mood. Let's do a lucky draw to reward myself. Chu Kuangren opened the fantasy roulette and began the lucky draw. Congratulations, host. You've obtained a God-tier technique, Eternal Stellar Physique. Chu Kuangren was stunned. A God-tier technique. Although it was not the first time he had obtained a God-tier reward, it was still the first time he had obtained a God-tier technique. Moreover, the name of the technique sounded rather impressive. He opened his inventory and saw an ancient book lying inside. The cover of the book was sparkling like the stars in the sky. Extract the Eternal Stellar Physique, Chu Kuangren said. Suddenly, the mysteries of this God-tier technique surged into his mind. After a long time, he finally finished absorbing it. What a powerful technique. This technique definitely surpasses all the Emperor's scriptures I've ever seen. Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with joy. It was because the star immortal body was too powerful. The Eternal Stellar Physique was a physique tempering technique. Its cultivation method was extremely shocking, and it was to devour the universe. To devour all the stars in the universe and temper the body. I already have the God-tier immortal body physique. Now, with the addition of the God-tier technique, the Eternal Stellar Physique, once I master both, who in this universe can defeat me? Chu Kuangren could not help but laugh. Then, his figure flashed and flew out of the secret realm. In the cold and silent universe, A giant pink bubble floated. At this moment, a white figure flew out of the bubble. It was Chu Kuangren. He came to the top of the pink bubble and willed it. The pink bubble shrunk at an incredible speed and finally turned into the size of a glass ball. Chu Kuangren held it in his palm and absorbed it into his body. At this time, Chu Kuangren had completely refined this secret realm. He could control the size of this secret realm at will and carry it around with him. However, he could not put it into his yin and yang ring. This secret realm was a world after all, and a yin and yang ring could not accommodate such a level of existence. Even if Chu Kuangren's yin and yang ring was legendary, which was the highest grade in firmament star, it could not do anything. Therefore, he could only store it in his body. This was also the safest and most reliable way. The energy contained in this secret realm is not to be underestimated. In the future, if I don't like anyone, I can just throw this secret realm at them. No one below the Downlord level can stop me. Chu Kuangren smirked. After keeping the pink secret realm, he looked at the 7th asteroid not far away with a hint of greed in his eyes. It was like a glutton who had seen a rare delicacy. Xiao AI, analyze this asteroid for me. Is the energy contained in it enough for my eternal stellar physique to achieve initial success? Connecting to the universal consciousness, analyzing. A mysterious thought swept across the entire 7th asteroid. Grade 2 asteroids contain rich minerals and geothermal energy. It's not enough for Master's eternal stellar physique to achieve initial success. At most, it can only advance to about 70%. 70%? Chu Kuangren was a little disappointed. However, he quickly threw that disappointment to the back of his mind. With so many stars in the universe, why would he be afraid of not having enough body-tempering resources? Let's start with the 7th asteroid. Chu Kuangren smirked. Then, his figure turned into a stream of light and pierced through the surface of the 7th asteroid, arriving at the planet's core. There was hot lava flowing here, and the temperature was extremely high. However, Chu Kuangren did not care. He activated the eternal stellar physique, and an indescribably terrifying suction force instantly erupted from his body. The surrounding heat, dust, and rocks quickly rushed towards him like rivers flowing into the sea. Under the effect of the immortal stellar physique, these energies were quickly converted into the astral energy needed to temper his body. However, Chu Kuangren felt that this process was too slow. Universal Cauldron Physique. Chapter 728. Universal Cauldron Physique. Absorb it. Chu Kuangren once again activated the Universal Cauldron Physique. This physique allowed one to quickly absorb any kind of energy between heaven and earth. And of course, that included the celestial energy. With the help of the Universal Cauldron Physique, Chu Kuangren's speed of absorbing the celestial energy greatly increased, and the 7th asteroid gradually collapsed. Looking from the sky above the planet, the asteroid was constantly trembling at this moment. Its surface was exploding, and huge cracks crisscrossed the ground, with countless amounts of magma gushing out of them. Meanwhile, the various energy substances contained within the planet were gushing towards the interior of the planet. Logically speaking, such a huge surge of energy should have caused the planet to explode. However, the 7th asteroid did not. Instead, it was collapsing inwardly. After that huge surge of energy substances entered the interior of the planet, it disappeared completely as if it was devoured by a horrifying beast. And that horrifying beast was, of course, Chu Kuangren. As the 7th asteroid was gradually refined by Chu Kuangren, the entire asteroid belt was plunged into an unprecedented tremor. The various super-small asteroids and asteroids that were floating in the cosmic void collided one after another. Some of the asteroids that were closest to the 7th asteroid were also affected by that horrifying suction force and were gradually sucked in as well. Another month had passed. Only some cosmic dust was left where the 7th asteroid used to be. In the void, a white-robed figure was sitting cross-legged with an incredibly dense celestial radiance circulating around his body. From afar, he looked like a bright star. All of a sudden, Chu Kuangren opened his eyes, and the celestial radiance on his body retracted. He slowly got up, and the surrounding void began to tremble violently, as if it was withstanding an extremely horrifying force from his movements. At that moment, a gigantic meteorite that was thousands of kilometers in size was hurtling towards Chu Kuangren from afar. Chu Kuangren stood in the air without dodging. He gently raised his hand, clenched his fair and slender fingers into a fist, and punched towards the meteorite. There was a loud explosion. The entire meteorite shattered into countless fragments. Chu Kuangren stood still on the spot. Some of the shattered meteorite fragments hit his body, but they did not cause him any harm at all. This physical body is already this terrifying even though it's not even at the initial stage. How terrifying will its power be once it reaches the full stage, or even the peak stage? Chu Kuangren murmured. His eyes were filled with anticipation. At that time he wouldn't even need to use any techniques. He would only need to throw a light punch to easily shatter the star. Even an Empyrean or Tao Lord could be annihilated with a single punch. Even slaying immortals was not impossible. There should be some asteroids nearby that I can absorb. I'll go back after I raise the star immortal body to the small success stage. Chu Kuangren murmured. His monarch will surged out like a tidal wave, and in the blink of an eye, the information of all the celestial bodies within a radius of tens of millions of miles appeared in his mind. He locked onto an asteroid with no signs of life and flew towards it. Another month had passed. Within that 1 month, Chu Kuangren had absorbed a few more asteroids. Although the amount of energy provided by them was not as massive as the 7th asteroid, it was still enough for his immortal stellar physique to reach the initial mastery realm. Minor completion, greater completion, peak perfection. These are the 4 stages of the immortal astral body. If I want to advance from minor completion to greater completion, the amount of astral energy required is more than 10 times that of minor completion. If I want to reach peak, the amount of astral energy required is even more unimaginable. As for perfection, TSK, I wonder if I can achieve perfection after absorbing an entire star? Chu Kuangren looked into the distance at the gigantic crimson glowing sphere. That was the star, also known as the sun. Cultivators were extremely fearful of the sun. This was because some high-level cultivators knew that the star, which was also known as the sun, was the source of all energy. The reason they were able to cultivate was all because of the sun's light and heat, as well as the constant release of energy. In other words, without the sun, firmament star would not have given birth to life, much less a cultivator civilization. However, the sun, which was revered by countless cultivators, was now being targeted by Chu Kuangren as if it was food. TSK, forget it. This sun is the energy source of this galaxy. If I absorb this sun, who knows if there will be other cultivator civilizations in this galaxy? However, I'm afraid the living beings in Firmament Star won't be able to escape this calamity. Chu Kuangren shook his head and said. He planned to wait until he had grown to a certain level before leaving this galaxy and heading to other galaxies in the universe. Then he would see if there was a chance for him to absorb a few stars. Firmament Star and even the entire galaxy's civilization did not know that they had somehow escaped this calamity. All right, it's time to return to Fortress number 17. Chu Kuangren murmured as he took out a battleship. This was left behind by the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable, and the others before they left. Upon entering the battleship, Chu Kuangren opened the battleship's barrier and the star map. After confirming the route, Chu Kuangren steered the battleship back to Fortress number 17. Fortress number 17. General's residence. Grandfather, how was it? Have the orders from above been passed down? Yan Honghua asked the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable nodded and said, after the Sky Honorable Assembly's discussion and the Taoist Master's instructions, the resources obtained from the secret realm will be distributed equally to the 16th, 17th, and 18th fortresses. Among them, the 17th fortress will take the majority. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable laughed out loud. He was in a great mood. That was true. This time, even he, the fortress master, had personally gone into battle. Although Chu Kuangren was a lone soldier, he had lived in the general's residence for so long, so he could be considered part of the 17th fortress. Hence, he had contributed greatly in this battle. Of course, they would take the majority of the resources. What about Brother Chu's battle merits? Yan Honghua asked again. The ghost blade Heavenly Honorable glanced at Yan Honghua and revealed a meaningful smile. You seem to care a lot about Brother Chu. Yan Honghua's gaze was a little evasive as she said, Brother Chu saved all of us, so it's only natural that I care about him. Is that all? What else? Yan Honghua replied. Sigh, what a shame. The ghost blade Heavenly Honorable sighed. I thought you'd finally come around and wanted to have a passionate relationship. Grandfather, what are you talking about? That's impossible. I won't think about these things before I get my revenge. Besides, he already has a family. A hint of loneliness flashed across Yan Honghua's eyes as she spoke. What? You already have a family? The ghost blade Heavenly Honorable was a little surprised to hear that. He then said regretfully, That's a shame. I really do think highly of Brother Chu. Throughout the entire extraterrestrial battlefield, he's the only one who's worthy of you. Alright, back to my previous question. What did the higher-ups say about Brother Chu's battle merits? Yan Honghua continued to ask. The ghost blade Heavenly Honorable only raised a finger. Yan Honghua understood and sucked in a breath of cold air. That's a lot. Yes, it won't be long before Brother Chu's name appears on the combat leaderboard. Besides that, the Sky Honorable Assembly will give him a special reward. When that time comes, someone will come looking for him. Chapter 729. Fort Number 17. Outside the general's residence, a sword ray suddenly appeared. The cultivators in the general's residence all looked at the newcomer warily. It was a swordsman in a white robe who looked very young. However, the aura that emanated from his body was so cold that even the soldiers in the general's residence felt a prickling sensation on their skin. Someone tell me your name. One of the soldiers said coldly. Fort Number 18, Jian Wuk of the Swordsman tribe. Jian Wuk said indifferently. Many people's eyes narrowed when they heard that name. Some of the cultivators on the street also stopped in their tracks. Jian Wuk, ranked 98th on the battle credits leaderboard. Why is he here? Some cultivators could not help but exclaim. Some cultivators who did not know who Jian Wuk was immediately awed when they heard that he was ranked 98th on the battle credits leaderboard. In all the forts, battle credits represented a person's status. The higher the battle credits, the more respect and reverence one would receive. This was especially true for cultivators who could squeeze into the top 100 of the battle credits leaderboard. In our Fort Number 17, the only person who can squeeze into the top 100 of the battle credits leaderboard is the general. Yes, that's right. Jian Wuk is from the Swordsman tribe. What's he doing here? Before the soldiers could go in to report, the ghost blade Heavenly Honorable had already sensed Jian Wuk's arrival in the general's residence. He walked out and laughed. Taoist Wu Kei, what kind of wind is this? Why are you here? Jian Wuk's battle credits were not low, so even the ghost blade Heavenly Honorable did not dare to slight him. When Jian Wuk saw the ghostly blade Heavenly Honorable, the fort master, he gave him the appropriate amount of respect. He cupped his fists and said, Greetings, General Ghostly Blade. I'm here to look for Chu Kuangren. Oh, why are you looking for Brother Chu? The ghost blade Heavenly Honorable was slightly surprised. Chu Kuangren had only arrived at the extraterrestrial battlefield not long ago. Since when did he have anything to do with Jian Wuk? I'm here to look for him and fulfill my promise of battle, Jian Wuk said calmly. However, his words were like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Many people were in an uproar. Who could make Jian Wuk come all the way here to challenge him? Chu Kuangren, this name sounds quite familiar. I think I've heard it from the army camp recently. What is this person's background? For Jian Wuk to think so highly of him. Could it be that he is also in the top 100 of the war merit list? That's not right. I can practically recite the top 500 names on the battle merit leaderboard backwards, but I've never heard of the name Chu Kuangren. Ghostblade Heavenly Lord frowned and said, Is there some misunderstanding between Taoist Wuk and Taoist Chu? I am willing to mediate between them. This is a matter between me and Chu Kuangren. You don't have to say anything more, General. Can you invite him out now? Jian Wuk said indifferently. Fellow Taoist Chu hasn't returned yet. When will he return? I don't know. Empyrean Ghostblade shook his head. If that's the case, I'll wait for him at Fort 17. If he comes back, I'll have to trouble you to pass on my message. I'll be waiting for him at the dueling arena to complete the duel, Jianwuk said calmly. Then he turned around to leave. Ghostblade Heavenly Lord stopped him and tried to persuade him. Brother Wuk, please don't be rash. Both of you are the most important combat forces in the extraterrestrial battlefield. If you get hurt because of a moment of anger, it'll be a great loss to the human race. Chu Kuangren was no longer the same as before. His combat strength was so strong that he could even kill someone like Bai Juexin. Although Jianwuk was a powerful upper-level Heavenly Lord, Ghostblade Heavenly Lord felt that he was still 1 or 2 levels lower than Chu Kuangren. He was no match for Chu Kuangren. However, Jianwuk had obviously misunderstood. He said solemnly, "Don't worry, General Ghostblade. Chu Kuangren is a rare talent. I know that. I'll be careful not to harm his life when I attack." General Ghostblade smiled helplessly at his words. "Who's afraid that you'll harm his life? I'm just afraid that he'll accidentally kill you." Seeing that his persuasion was ineffective, the Ghostblade Heavenly Lord could only sigh helplessly. He looked at Jianwuk's departing figure and shook his head. "Brother Wuk, I wish you good luck." Not long after, news of Jianwuk's challenge to Chu Kuangren spread throughout Fortress Number 17. Countless people were talking about it. After all, those in the top 100 of the Battle Merits leaderboard were considered to be top-notch figures. Besides that, Chu Kuangren's name had also gradually entered the public's attention. Many people were investigating this person's information. As the investigation went deeper, the people could not help but feel incredulous. Supreme Sage? Resisted the invasion of the demonic realm twice? Killed several emperors when he just ascended to the emperor realm? Ascended to the heavenly honorable realm in a few years? Was he even human? If the information is correct, then this Chu Kuangren is truly unprecedented. He stopped the invasion of the demonic realm twice. Just this alone is enough to earn him countless battle merits. That's right. If it weren't for him, Firmament Star would have fallen and become a demonic land. What's the point of us staying in the extraterrestrial battlefield then? Not bad. Tisk tsk, I can't believe Firmament Star has such a terrifying genius. But according to the information, this person's cultivation level is only a lower level heavenly honorable. Can he be a match for Jianwuk? I don't think so, but Jianwuk won't be able to kill him either. The higher-ups won't want to see a genius like him get hurt. That's true. Countless people were watching the upcoming battle. Today, a battleship arrived outside Fortress Number 17. Chu Kuangren got out of the battleship and kept it away. Then his figure flashed, and he used the spatial conveyor technique to arrive outside the general's residence. The soldiers' eyes lit up when they saw Chu Kuangren. "Brother Chu, you're back." "Yes, is the general around?" "He's inside." "Please go in, brother." The Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable had once said that Chu Kuangren would not be guarded in any part of the general's residence. He could come and go as he pleased. After entering the general's residence, the Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable walked up to Chu Kuangren and gave him a big hug. "Brother Chu, welcome back." Chu Kuangren smiled. The few of them then entered the Great Hall to catch up. The Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable brought up Jianwuk's challenge. "Brother Chu, what kind of grudge did you have with Jianwuk?" "It's nothing much. I just killed a commander of the swordsmen." Chu Kuangren laughed. The Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable's lips twitched. The commander of the swordsmen was at least an honorable realm cultivator, and there were not many of them in the swordsmen. Why did Chu Kuangren make them seem like they could be found anywhere? Then Chu Kuangren told him about Jianwuk. The Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable, who was initially sympathetic towards the swordsman, suddenly stood up and slammed the table. Ungrateful people deserve to die. How dare this Jianwuk come here and challenge you to a duel? How shameless of me to call him my friend. The Ghostblade Heavenly Honorable was furious. After all, Jianwuk did not only expose Chu Kuangren's secret, but also his precious granddaughter, Yan Honghua, knew. Chapter 730. Brother Chu, if you're not interested in this guy's challenge, I'll help you get rid of him, the ghostly blade Heavenly Honorable said. Because of Jian's betrayal, the ghostly blade Heavenly Honorable did not have a good impression of the swordsman. He even wanted to personally teach Jianwuk a lesson. However, Chu Kuangren smiled and said, "There's no need to trouble you, General. Since this guy is here for me, let me go." After all, he did have a dual agreement with him. Fort number 17. At the arena, large-scale battles between orthodoxies were not allowed in the extraterrestrial battlefield. That would only result in internal strife and weaken the Firmament Star's resistance against the Blood Tribe. Hence, the arena was established. Whether it was a personal grudge or a battle between orthodoxies, they could all be settled through the arena by sending out a small number of people. In every fort, there was an arena. These arenas were usually filled with people. After all, there were hundreds of millions of cultivators living in a fort. It was inevitable that there would be conflicts, so there was an endless stream of people coming to the arena. A young swordsman stood in one of the arenas. The swordsman had a long sword at his waist, and his aura was extremely sharp. This person was Jianwuk. He had been waiting for Chu Kuangren in the arena for 10 days. In these 10 days, there were also some swordsmen who came to challenge him. Some of them wanted to step on him and climb up the ranks. There were also some who simply wanted to verify their sword principles with him. Jianwuk did not reject any of these people. He accepted their challenges one by one and defeated them one by one. In these 10 days, 98 swordsmen had been defeated by Jianwuk. Among them, there were many upper-level Heavenly Honorables. In these 10 days, Jianwuk had fully proven his strength. Buzz, the long sword at Jianwuk's waist suddenly vibrated twice. He slowly opened his eyes. Someone's here to challenge me again. In front of him stood a young swordsman in a green robe. He was holding a long sword inlaid with jewels in his hand. Challenger, state your name. I'm Qingyi Jian. I'm here to experience Brother Wuk's sword techniques. Bring it on then. Jianwuk said calmly. The surrounding cultivators all turned their attention to Jianwuk's arena with a playful look in their eyes. Look, another person is going to challenge Jianwuk. TSK, how many has it been? There are still people who dare to challenge him. This is the 99th. Whoa, he's almost at the 100-win streak. As expected of someone in the top 100 of the war merit list. How many moves do you think this person can take? He should be able to take a dozen moves. Judging from his aura, this person is also an Empyrean. I should be able to fight for a while. Everyone discussed animatedly. Jianwuk and the swordsman had already started fighting. Their swords clashed in the air, and the sword chi that burst out hit the walls of the dueling arena. Not long after, the swordsman who challenged Jianwuk was defeated before he could even unleash his pocket world. He was sent flying by a sword strike. You're too weak. Jianwuk sheathed his sword and said indifferently to the swordsman. Hearing his words, the swordsman's expression became extremely gloomy. He wanted to refute, but when he opened his mouth he couldn't say a single word. How could he refute it? The other party had only used a few sword strikes to defeat him. Do I have the strength to refute? Damn it. The swordsman stood up and left unwillingly. When he was about to walk out of the arena, a young man in white walked towards him. After being defeated by Jianwuk, this swordsman was in a bad mood. He didn't even give way. He raised his hand and sent out a wave of energy. Get lost. He was an Empyrean. If this wave of energy hit him, even an emperor would be overturned. However, when his energy landed on the figure in white, it was like a cool breeze hitting a piece of granite. It didn't have any effect. How can this be? The swordsman's expression changed. However, before he could react, he felt his shoulder being grabbed by someone. He instinctively activated his emperor's energy to resist. However, no matter how much he activated his emperor's energy, he couldn't move that fair and slender palm. He felt his entire body suddenly fly into the air. After a moment of dizziness, he crashed into the wall of the arena. The surrounding cultivators were dumbfounded. They only saw the young man in white stretch out his hand and grab the swordsman. Then he threw the swordsman away as if he was throwing trash. The swordsman couldn't resist at all. After all, He was a Empyrean. Asterisk gulp. Asterisk who was this person? Asterisk the crowd swallowed their saliva. They carefully sized up the man in front of them. He had a tall and slender figure. He was dressed in white with a gorgeous longsword hanging on his waist. His black hair reached his waist. He was handsome and extraordinary. The person in front of them looked like a celestial being. Coupled with the fact that he had casually thrown an Empyrean away, it wasn't hard to imagine that he was definitely a top-notch expert. The eyes of the surrounding female cultivators were all transfixed. Oh my God, where did this little brother come from? He's too good-looking. Moreover, he's so strong. He easily threw an Empyrean away. There aren't many people in the entire fortress who have such strength. He's so handsome and so powerful. If he was from our 17th fortress, he would have become famous long ago. Why don't I know him? After so many years, I finally found my Mr. Right. Sister, wake up. Compared to the exclamations of the surrounding cultivators, Jian Wu's eyes lit up and a powerful aura erupted from his body. This aura swept the entire arena. Some of the starry-eyed female cultivators snapped out of their daze. What's with Jian Wu's reaction? Could it be? Chu Kuangren, you're finally here. Jian Wu stared at Chu Kuangren and said. The crowd came to a sudden realization. No wonder he had such a big reaction. It was because his opponent had arrived. He's Chu Kuangren. Tisk looks like he's quite strong. Of course. How else would Jian Wu challenge him? The crowd looked at him expectantly. Jian Wu had waited for Chu Kuangren for 10 days. As for them, they had also been waiting for this battle for 10 days. Since you've come knocking on my door, how can I not come? I've said that if you want to fight, I'll accept your challenge anytime. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then he suddenly sighed and said, however, I'm starting to regret it now. Jian Wu raised an eyebrow. Oh, you're afraid? No, it's because I've realized that you're no longer a worthy opponent. That's why I'm regretting it. After all, I don't want to waste my time on a weakling. Chu Kuangren looked like he was in a difficult position. He did not expect his strength to improve so quickly during this trip to the secret realm. Initially, Jian Wu was still a worthy opponent. However, the gap between him and Jian Wu had now widened. Chu Kuangren, you're too arrogant. Jian Wu's face turned pale. He was starting to get angry. After all, he was an upper-level heavenly honorable of the swordsman race. He was ranked in the top 100 of the battle merits leaderboard. Aside from the Dao Lords, he was definitely one of the best in the foreign battlefields. Since when was he called a weakling? Forget it. I'll let my strength do the talking. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and arrived at the arena. New. Chapter 731. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and arrived at the arena. He stood with his hands behind his back and said, 3 moves. Oh, are you trying to say that you can defeat me in 3 moves? Jian Wu gradually controlled his emotions and adjusted his battle state to its peak. When he heard Chu Kuangren say 3 moves, he was not angry. Instead, he laughed and looked at Chu Kuangren as if he was looking at an idiot. Defeat him in 3 moves. Are you kidding me? He was an upper Dao Lord. Although he was not at the level of a half-step Dao Lord like the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable, or by Jueshin. If he went all out, even a half-step Dao Lord like the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable would not dare to say that he could defeat him in 3 moves. However, Chu Kuangren, who was in a lower realm than Jian Wu, dared to say such a thing. What a joke! Jian Wu was not the only one who thought so. The others shared the same thought. Some of the female cultivators looked at Chu Kuangren sympathetically. Sigh, his face is pretty good, but there's something wrong with his brain. No, you've misunderstood. Chu Kuangren smiled. I don't want to defeat you in 3 moves. I only need 1. What I meant was that I'll let you make 3 moves first. As soon as these words came out, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was stunned. Then an uproar broke out. CK me, are you kidding me? This kid is too pretentious. Why didn't he fly out of the universe's boundary to defeat Jian Wu in 1 move? That's right. Does he know what kind of existence he's facing? This fella is simply too ignorant. I thought he was some great figure, but it seems like he's just a braggart with a little bit of strength. Sigh, it's such a pity that his face is ruined. Go Jianwuk. Beat him to death. Go cutie. Remember to protect your face when you get beaten up later. It's such a good face. It'd be a pity if it gets ruined. The crowd was in an uproar as they were all shocked by Chu Kuangren's speech. Some of them scolded him for being shameless, while some of them supported Jianwuk. Some of the female cultivators could not bear to part with Chu Kuangren's face. Yan Honghua, who came to watch the battle, could not help but shake her head. Can't this guy keep a low profile? Beside her, Bai Lixue chuckled. I think Cutie has quite a character. Besides, he's really strong. After all, they had experienced the battle in the secret realm. They had a much better understanding of Chu Kuangren's strength than anyone else. In the dueling arena, Jianwuk, who had just regained his composure with much difficulty, once again lost control of his emotions after hearing Chu Kuangren's words. His face turned green with anger. Control his emotions? Control my ass. Right now, all he wanted to do was to press Chu Kuangren against the ground. Watch my sword. The jet-black sword in Jianwuk's hand instantly pierced through the void, leaving behind a black arc of light. It was wrapped with a large number of Emperor Qi Dao patterns. It was like a sword light that shot out from the darkness, piercing straight out. The sword was aimed at Chu Kuangren's chest. But he stood there, not moving an inch. Only when the sword was about to reach him did he raise 2 fingers and clamp the pitch-black sword in a way that no one could understand. The Dao runes and monarch Qi on the sword completely dissipated. Chu Kuangren had caught Jianwuk's sword between 2 fingers. The cultivators who were prepared to watch the show were all stunned. They could not believe what they had just witnessed. Some of them even rubbed their eyes, wondering if they were dreaming. However, the truth was that Chu Kuangren had really caught the sword between his fingers. How is this possible? The crowd gulped. Their doubts were also the same for Jianwuk. How could this be? How could his sword be blocked so easily and in such an inconceivable way? Small realm. Jianwuk's eyes narrowed when he noticed something. A faint purple glow circulated around Chu Kuangren's 2 fingers. The Taoist patterns intertwined, and it seemed to contain a small realm. Some of the heavenly honorables who were watching the battle also noticed this. They could not help but look at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Compared to an emperor realm emperor, a large portion of a heavenly honorable's combat strength was reflected in the small realm. The strength of the small realm and its utilization were all important factors that affected a heavenly honorable's combat strength. Even for these heavenly honorables who had immersed themselves in the small realm for countless years, it was their first time witnessing someone using the small realm on 2 fingers. It was unbelievable. It's not easy for a heavenly honorable's small realm to grow bigger or smaller. To be able to control the small realm to a radius of a kilometer is already considered proficient, but to have it condensed at the tip of one's finger, this is unbelievable. This guy's utilization of the small realm is so good that even a Dao Lord might not be able to match him, let alone a heavenly honorable. How terrifying. The heavenly honorables were in awe, but Jianwuk, who was in the arena, felt an unprecedented pressure. He let out a low growl and released his own small realm, wanting to fight against the small realm at Chu Kuangren's fingertips. However, he realized that the small realm at Chu Kuangren's fingertips was ridiculously strong. His small realm could not even move an inch. In the end, it was Chu Kuangren who released his fingers. Jianwuk immediately retreated. He looked at Chu Kuangren fearfully. I can't believe you've improved so much in such a short time. How shocking. You still have 2 more moves. Take advantage of this opportunity and see if you can hurt me, Chu Kuangren said as he hooked his finger. Jianwuk's lips twitched twice. He felt that Chu Kuangren's every word was provoking his Taoist core. He could not help but be enraged, and he was about to lose his rationality. Calm down, calm down. Jianwuk took a deep breath and forced himself to control his emotions. He then channeled the Emperor's essence to its limit. Following that, he unleashed his small realm and enveloped the entire arena. Profound technique, dark void slash. Profound technique unleashed. Jianwuk unleashed his sword, and a pitch-black sword ray that carried a destructive force tore through the void, and headed towards Chu Kuangren. Within the sword ray, Taoist patterns intertwined and looked extremely mysterious. It was as if there was a black hole within it. That sword ray was powerful enough to destroy half of a small planet. However, Chu Kuangren's expression was still as calm as ever. He pointed a finger at the pitch-black sword ray, and the small realm at his fingertips landed on the sword ray. However, the sword ray that could destroy a planet could not destroy the small realm at Chu Kuangren's fingertips. On the contrary, it was gradually disintegrated by the small realm. Not long after, the black sword ray turned into nothingness. Chu Kuangren stood where he was unscathed. His two fair and slender fingers were like white jade that had a crystalline luster. However, when the crowd looked at those two fingers, it was as if they were looking at the world's most terrifying killing weapon. They could not help but shiver. They all knew that if Chu Kuangren wanted to, he could easily destroy a small planet with those two fingers. You still have one more chance. Dark Void Piercer. Jian Wuk held the pitch-black longsword in his hand and stabbed it out. The sword ray was straight, and as fast as a meteor. This move, it's useless. Chu Kuangren shook his head and smiled as he gently pointed a finger. The tip of his finger and the tip of the sword came into contact. The pitch-black longsword in Jian Wuk then turned into light spots and dissipated. A figure then emerged from the light spots and slashed at Chu Kuangren from another direction. That was Jian Wuk's true trump card. Shadow Clone Sword. Chapter 732. Heaven Origin Dojo? Chu Kuangren looked at the Daolord's emissary in confusion. The Daolord's emissary seemed to know that Chu Kuangren did not understand what he was talking about, so he explained, "The Heaven Origin Dojo is a firmament secret realm that has been passed down since ancient times. The Heaven Origin Dojo was a secret realm that was nurtured by the firmament star. In this secret realm, cultivators' Taoist enlightenment speed would be greatly increased, and there was a chance that they could learn their own profound mysteries. Even the Daolord would benefit greatly after entering the Heaven Origin secret realm. However, it was extremely difficult to open this secret realm as it required 10 Daolords to activate it at the same time. Moreover, it could only be opened for about 10 days each time. Hence, one had to be extremely careful when opening this secret realm. Opening the Heaven Origin Dojo requires the combined strength of 10 Daolords. Even in the extraterrestrial battlefield, there are not many who can enjoy this honor. Brother Chu, I'm really envious of you." The Daolord's emissary looked at Chu Kuangren with envy. Chu Kuangren smiled. "Thank you very much, Daolord. If that's the case, when shall we depart?" Chu Kuangren was quite interested in the Heaven Origin Dojo. After all, who would not love a place that could increase their Taoist enlightenment speed? Yes, the secret realm will open in 10 days. It will take us about 10 days to get there. Brother Chu, please get ready. We'll depart tomorrow. All right then. Chu Kuangren nodded. The next day, Chu Kuangren departed with the Daolord's emissary. Along the way, he heard some information about the Daolords from the Daolord's emissary. He found out that there were a total of 24 known Daolords in the extraterrestrial battlefield. These 24 people, including humans and beasts, were the pinnacle combat strength of the firmament star, and the backbone of the battlefield. Among them, there were 3 strongest Daolords. They were the Heavenly Yellow Daolord, the Dharma Daolord, and the Bright Moon Daolord. The Daolords are the strongest in the firmament star. Every Daolord is a sage who has existed for countless years, and represents the pinnacle of cultivation in the firmament star. The Daolord's emissary said with admiration. Chu Kuangren was deep in thought as he listened from the side. In the past, he had once chatted with the Chaos Dao Master in the Burial Emperor's coffin about the ancient times, so he knew some things about the Dao Master. However, the Chaos Dao Master had mentioned a few Dao Masters to him, but he hadn't heard about the rest from this Dao Master's envoy. Among the 24 Dao Masters, other than the Black-Yellow Dao Master, whom he had heard about from the Chaos Dao Master, the rest were nowhere to be found. Could it be that the Chaos Dao Master's old friends had already passed away? Chu Kuangren arrived at the Sky Origin Dojo with doubts in his heart. In the Tianyuan Dojo, on a small planet near the 30th fortress, some people had already gathered there. Each of these people was filled with an incredibly surging emperor's aura, and the weakest among them was an upper-level heavenly venerate. Just like Chu Kuangren, they too wanted to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. The heavenly Taoist rite was a method that the Taoist masters used to reward the cultivators with outstanding battle merits. This time, Chu Kuangren had provided a large number of secret realm treasures to the extraterrestrial battleground, killing hundreds of millions of blood tribe cultivators. This battle achievement could not be said to be small. Hence, he was given the opportunity to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. The rest of the people, like him, had also achieved amazing battle merits and were given the opportunity to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. Not all of them had achieved battle merits recently, but they might have done so in the past or slowly accumulated over a long period of time. It was just that they were put together by the Taoist masters to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. When Chu Kuangren arrived, the eyes of many cultivators lit up as they looked at him curiously. Some of them were familiar with Chu Kuangren, but at the same time, they were unfamiliar with him. They were familiar with him because they had already paid attention to him before he grew up, but they were unfamiliar with him because this was their first time meeting him in person. Greetings, fellow Taoists. When Chu Kuangren arrived, he greeted the crowd. These people in front of him could be considered his seniors. Before he came to the extraterrestrial battleground, these people were already fighting for the firmament star. Chu Kuangren still had some respect for these people. Ah, nice to meet you, Brother Chu. A few days ago, I saw your name suddenly appear in the top 50 of the combat leaderboard. I was wondering if I could see you here, and here you are. Little brother, you look so handsome. A charming female cultivator walked up to Chu Kuangren and reached out to touch him from head to toe. Her eyes were filled with a wolfish gaze. Chu Kuangren could not help but shudder at the sight. He subtly took 2 steps back. Senior, please mind your manners. Hee. The female cultivator giggled and licked her red lips. Little guy, you're really interesting. I really want to eat you up. As she said that, she could not help but reveal a fluffy white fox tail behind her that rubbed against Chu Kuangren's body. She was a demon, and her true form was a heavenly fox. You sly fox, don't scare me away. Beside her, a burly man laughed and said to Chu Kuangren, I'm Honorable Sky Bull of the Ox Demon Tribe. Nice to meet you, Brother Chu. The burly man had a horn on his head. He was a demon. Honorable Sky Bull, Chu Kuangren said with a fist salute. As he spoke, that fluffy fox tail brushed against his cheek, and she even wanted to stuff it into his mouth. However, Chu Kuangren grabbed it and said helplessly, Senior, you're making it hard for me to do this. Little brother, you're hurting me. The fox demon's face was flushed red, which made her look extremely charming. She kept her fox tail and said, Then let me introduce myself. My name is Hu Fei, but you can call me Lil Fei too. You're the only one who's allowed to call me that, little brother. She winked at Chu Kuangren. Nice to meet you, Brother Hu. Chu Kuangren pretended not to see it. The honorable ones beside him also came up to introduce themselves. Without exception, these people were all in the top 50 of the battle points leaderboard. Even some of the Fort Lord's battle points were not as good as theirs. Everyone's here, right? At that moment, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded. In the void, a white figure suddenly appeared. It was an old man with white hair and a glint in his eyes. Upon seeing the old man, everyone at the scene could not help but straighten their faces. Even the mischievous Hu Fei put away her charm and bowed to the old man like everyone else. Greetings, Taoist Master. Yes, the 12 of you honorable ones have outstanding battle points, so we'll be opening the Sky Origin Dojo for all of you. Remember, you only have 10 days, so make the most of it. Yes, Honorable Lord. The crowd was filled with anticipation. Then, the Taoist master gently raised his hand, and a large white door appeared in the void. Everyone, let's open the dojo together. The Taoist master said. Spiritual chi surged between the heavens and the earth, and 9 different rays of light that contained mysterious Taoist markings came from the sky. Just a glance at them was enough to dazzle the honorable ones at the scene. Those were the Taoist master's Taoist markings. The 9 Taoist masters' energies struck the white door. Meanwhile, the white-haired Taoist master unleashed a palm attack. With a loud bang, The white door slowly opened. Chapter 734. The white door suddenly opened. A mysterious aura spread out, and everyone could only see a vast expanse of whiteness beyond the door. It was a world that was hard to fathom. Is this the Sky Origin Dojo? Time is of the essence. Let's hurry in. Chu Kuangren and the others turned into streams of light and entered the Sky Origin Dojo. The group arrived at a vast expanse of whiteness. It was as if there was nothing in this space, but upon closer inspection, there were countless mysterious Taoist patterns scattered around. These Taoist patterns seemed to contain everything in this world, including the origin of the world. I can feel that my understanding of the Tao is increasing rapidly in this space. It's clearer than ever before. Me too. Time is of the essence. Let's begin to understand our own Tao. The heavenly honorables began to sit with their legs crossed. Chu Kuangren did the same. The 12 heavenly honorables each found a place to gain enlightenment. Among them, Chu Kuangren's enlightenment was the strongest. In fact, it far surpassed the other 11 heavenly honorables. It did not take long for him to find the feeling. Time passed, and soon, 2 days had passed. Taoist patterns flowed on the surface of Chu Kuangren's body. The level of its mysteriousness had exceeded the limits of an heavenly honorable. This is the ultimate mystery. The Tao Lords who had been watching the Sky Origin Dojo were shocked. Originally, he was the first person in the history of the human race to possess the ultimate Emperor Yuan. I never thought that he would be able to comprehend the ultimate Emperor Yuan in the Tianyuan Dojo. This is truly shocking. One of the Tao Lords could not help but exclaim. The other Tao Lords shared the same sentiment. They had been watching Chu Kuangren's growth all this while. However, they did not expect his growth to be so much faster than they had imagined. It had only been a few years, and he had already become a heavenly honorable. He could even kill a Tao Lord. Although Bai Juexin had used a Tao Lord's blood essence to forcefully increase his cultivation level, he was still a Tao Lord. Although Chu Kuangren had the support of the secret realm origin, the fact that he could kill Bai Juexin was enough to shock them. This kid must have become an emperor in the Burying Emperor Coffin. TSK, the Burying Emperor Coffin. That's the place where the Chaos Tao Lord is sealed. I wonder if this kid's ultimate emperor energy is related to the Chaos Tao Lord. At that moment, one of the Tao Lords suddenly said. Upon hearing this, the other Tao Lords fell silent. Alright, regardless of whether he is related to the Chaos Tao Lord or not, let's not talk about the Chaos Tao Lord in case we offend him. A Tao Lord said. They seemed to be wary of the Chaos Tao Master. The others didn't say anything else. It only took him 2 days to comprehend the ultimate profoundness. There are still 8 days left. I wonder what other surprises he will bring us. One of the Tao Lords suddenly said with anticipation. Let's continue watching. In the Tianyuan Dojo, Chu Kuangren realized that he had reached a bottleneck in his understanding of the Tao after he had gained insight into the ultimate mystery. Even with the support of the Tianyuan Dojo, it was still extremely difficult for him to continue comprehending, so he woke up. He raised his hand, and a Tao pattern circulated in his palm. It was the manifestation of his Tao. His comprehension of the Tao was not much weaker than the Tao Masters. The only difference between them was cultivation. Cultivation was easy. With the universal cauldron physique, as long as he had enough resources, it would be a piece of cake for him to ascend to the Tao Lord level. In the eyes of outsiders, the highest cultivation realm in the firmament star since the beginning of time was nothing to Chu Kuangren. My understanding of the Tao is no longer weaker than the Tao Lords. All I need to do is find resources to improve my cultivation. There are still 8 days left. Even if I continue to comprehend, I won't make much progress. This Tianyuan Dojo is a little disappointing. Chu Kuangren gently shook his head with disappointment in his eyes. He glanced at the other heavenly honorables. Everyone was making good use of their time to carefully comprehend their own Tao. Unlike Chu Kuangren, who still had time to lament. There are still 8 days left. I need to find something to do. Chu Kuangren murmured. Suddenly, he saw a Taoist pattern from the corner of his eye. It was a Taoist pattern that was faintly discernible in this white space. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued, and he said in his heart, "Xiao AI, help me analyze the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo." "Yes, master." The spirit of omniscience, Xiao AI, began to operate. Analyzing. In the outside world, the Tao lords who had been paying attention to the changes in the Tianyuan dojo suddenly sensed something. They looked at each other in shock. "Do you guys feel anything? It's a strange feeling. The Tianyuan dojo seems to be being spied on by some unknown entity. I can't find the source of this anomaly. What's going on?" The Tao lords were inexplicably panicked. For countless years, they had stood at the peak of the firmament star's cultivation civilization. Very few things were out of their control. However, now that the Tianyuan dojo under their control was experiencing an unknown anomaly that they could not understand, it made them feel uneasy. "Calm down. The Tianyuan dojo is a secret realm left behind by the heavenly Tao. It's not something that can be easily spied on. Perhaps this is the Tianyuan dojo's own anomaly," one of the Tao lords said. Upon hearing that, everyone nodded and felt slightly relieved. Meanwhile, in the Tianyuan dojo, Chu Kuangren used the spirit of omniscience to analyze the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo and made a huge discovery. He realized that the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo were similar to his own heavenly punishment Taoist patterns. They both contain the power of the heavenly Tao. Understanding these Taoist patterns might be able to bring my heavenly punishment Taoist patterns to the next level. Chu Kuangren murmured with anticipation in his eyes. The heavenly punishment Taoist patterns were an important force against the deities. Although the strong cultivators of the deities were still sealed, who knew if they would break free in the future? Therefore, Chu Kuangren had never stopped studying the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns. How could he not be tempted by the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo? Since he wanted to do it, he began to understand the Taoist patterns in the dojo. These Taoist patterns were very mysterious, and they were even more difficult to understand than the secret realm origin that he had previously studied. However, Chu Kuangren did not give up so easily. He compared the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns with the Taoist patterns in the dojo, and began to analyze and understand the Taoist patterns in the dojo. In less than 2 days, he was already in a good state. The 10-day period was almost up. On this day, the entire Tianyuan dojo suddenly shook. The heavenly honorables who were in closed-door meditation to understand their own Taoism were alarmed. What's going on? Why is there such a strange movement in the dojo? The Tao lords were also shocked by this sudden turn of events. They tried to investigate and realized that the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo that had never changed since ancient times had begun to change. The Taoist patterns circled around Chu Kuangren on their own, and countless mysterious Taoist patterns also flowed out of Chu Kuangren's body. They emanated a majestic aura that resonated with the Taoist patterns in the dojo. At that moment, the heavenly Tao of the distant firmament star also resonated. Chapter 735. What the hell is going on? Why is there such a change in the Tianyuan dojo? What exactly did Chu Kuangren do? Forget it. Let's get the celestial sovereign out first. The Tao lords looked at this scene in shock. After that, they grabbed the heavenly honorables out of the dojo. Soon Chu Kuangren was the only one left in the dojo. He sat in the middle of the Tao pattern in the dojo, and his own heavenly punishment Tao pattern resonated with it. Vaguely, they seemed to be fusing together. The Tao lords couldn't help but be stunned. It must be known that they had once studied the Tao markings in the Tianyuan dojo, in an attempt to gain complete control of the Tianyuan dojo through this method. However, they had failed after countless years. However, Chu Kuangren was currently merging those Taoist patterns. This won't do. If we allow him to continue, I'm afraid he'll take away the entire Tianyuan dojo. He's stealing the power of Tianyuan dojo. How did this guy do it? The Tao lords discussed among themselves. The Heaven Origin Dojo was extremely important, as it was one of the most important secret realms in the firmament star. It was also the method they used to reward the heavenly venerables. If Chu Kuangren were to take it, they would suffer a great loss. We have to stop him. However, this person possesses the heavenly punishment Tao runes. Now that the Heavenly Yuan Dojo's Tao runes have fused with him, it might be some sort of opportunity for him. Wouldn't it be inappropriate for us to stop him? The Tianyuan Dojo is about to be destroyed. I can't care about it anymore. Chu Kuangren is the first cultivator in the history of the firmament star to possess the ultimate emperor essence. Not only that, but he also has the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern. If we recklessly destroy his opportunities of fortune, what should we do if he becomes hostile towards us? A Tao Lord suddenly said. Chu Kuangren's potential was too great. It was so big that when it matured in the future, it might even be able to influence the entire situation of the foreign battlefields and end this war that had lasted for countless years. It would not be a good thing for either Chu Kuangren or themselves if they were to form a grudge against such a person. This guy, why did he do this all of a sudden? A Tao Lord said in dissatisfaction. Contact the others and ask for their opinions. Let the other celestial venerables leave first. Honorable Empyrean Bull, Hu Fei, and the other heavenly honorables gathered together and stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. I've always heard that Chu Kuangren is good at surprising people. Now it seems that it's true. What did he do to make the dojo react like this? Just as the heavenly venerables were discussing, the Tao Master's voice suddenly rang out. All heavenly venerables, retreat from Tianyuan planet. The heavenly honorables looked at each other. They knew that the Tao Lords were going to do something to Chu Kuangren, but they didn't have any chance to intervene. They were well aware of the importance of the Sky Origin Dojo, so they would not be surprised if the Taoist masters were to fall out with Chu Kuangren for the sake of this dojo. Fellow Taoist Chu is the future cornerstone of the Outer Realm battlefield. I hope that the Taoists can be more lenient towards him when making decisions. Hu Fei gritted her teeth and suddenly said. Everyone was very surprised to hear her words. They did not expect her to suddenly plead for Chu Kuangren. TSK, don't tell me you've fallen for him. Honorable Empyrean Bull was amazed, but he then turned to the Taoist masters and said, the fox is right. Fellow Taoist Chu's talents will definitely play a huge role in the Outer Realm battlefield in the future. I hope that the Taoist masters can be more lenient towards him. The others looked at each other, and a few of them spoke up as well. The Taoist masters remained silent for a while before he said indifferently, we'll make our own decisions regarding this matter. You may all leave now. Upon hearing that, everyone glanced at Chu Kuangren before they left. Not long after, 24 figures appeared in the void. They were the 24 known Taoist masters of Firmament Star, and they were the ones who firmly controlled the situation on Firmament Star. The Sky Origin Dojo has really changed. It's indeed merging with this person's Taoist patterns. I believe it won't be long before this Sky Origin Dojo is either going to have a new owner or be destroyed. This Sky Origin Dojo has never truly belonged to anyone, so how could it have a new owner? Alright, what do we do now? Let's make a decision. Everyone first studied Chu Kuangren's current situation. Then they discussed how to deal with this matter. Most of the Taoist masters had their eyes on 3 people. They were the Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, the Dharma Taoist Master, and the Bright Moon Taoist Master. These 3 were also the strongest among the 24 Taoist masters. We cannot afford to lose the Sky Origin Dojo. Stop him from continuing. A tall man in a golden robe said. This person was the Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, one of the 3 Taoist masters. Everyone's eyes flickered when they heard him. They did not expect him to be so decisive. I thought you wouldn't even pretend to think about it. I didn't expect you to be so eager to kill him without even pretending. A chuckle was heard. The Dharma Taoist Master, who was beside the Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, spoke. He was dressed in a white robe, had a handsome face, and had a sense of elegance and elegance. The Sky Origin Dojo must be in our hands. The Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master said indifferently. Don't make it sound so nice. Aren't you trying to kill Chu Kuangren because you think he might be related to the Chaos Taoist Master? Oh Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, it's been so many years but you're still so petty. The Dharma Taoist Master sneered. He glanced at Chu Kuangren and said, Chu Kuangren's potential is immeasurable. He'll definitely grow into a force that can control the extraterrestrial battlefield in the future. I won't allow anyone to hurt him in front of me. Then you'll have to watch as the Sky Origin Dojo gets out of control. The Sky Origin Dojo versus a force that can affect the situation of the extraterrestrial battlefield. Do you need me to teach you how to choose between these two choices? That's only in the future. No one can predict what will happen in the future. Who knows if he'll encounter any accidents along the way? Since ancient times, have there been so many sky prides who have fallen along the way? The heavenly yellow Taoist master said. As long as you don't play any tricks in the dark, he'll definitely grow into a Taoist master under my protection, the Dharma Taoist master said. If that's the case, then let's vote. The heavenly yellow Taoist master said. The Dharma Taoist master's heart sank when he heard that. Then he looked at the bright moon Taoist master. The bright moon Taoist master was silent for a while before he said, "This is the human race's matter. The Taoist masters of the demon race shall remain neutral." The bright moon Taoist master and the other 3 Taoist masters gave up. Now there were only 20 Taoists left. Now those who don't agree with interrupting Chu Kuangren, please raise your hand. The heavenly yellow Taoist master said. Apart from the Dharma Taoist master, only a few people raised their hands. As for the others, most of them just stood there and looked down. The heavenly yellow Taoist master was the strongest among the 3 Taoist masters, and he had the most authority as well. Half of the 24 Taoist masters followed his lead. Alright, the result is obvious. The Sky Origin Dojo cannot be lost. Now let's interrupt Chu Kuangren. The heavenly yellow Taoist master said. However, at that moment, a cold voice rang out. Oh, a vote? I wonder if I have the right to vote? Chapter 736. Oh, a vote, huh? I wonder if I have the right to vote? A cold voice suddenly rang out. A woman dressed in white slowly walked over. She was only a heavenly honorable, and her aura was not even as powerful as Chu Kuangren's. However, everyone could not help but narrow their eyes when they saw her. The Dharma Taoist master could not help but reveal a look of joy. It's her. I can't believe she would suddenly appear here. This aura, it's so weak. Rumor has it that when she became the eye of the array, she used some kind of secret technique to sever a part of her soul and reincarnate. Now it seems that it was true. This should be her reincarnation. The first female emperor Luo Shui. It was the former headless female emperor, Luo Shui. She was now a heavenly honorable. However, her heavenly honorable cultivation was not the reason why she dared to face the Taoist master. Her true strength was her other identity, the first female emperor. Brother Luo Shui, do you want to protect Chu Kuangren too? Yes. Luo Shui replied calmly. She looked at the heavenly yellow Taoist master and said, "If you dare touch him, I'll kill you once I return to the Taoist master realm." You. The heavenly yellow Taoist master's expression darkened. To him, the current Luo River was not even worth mentioning. He could easily kill a heavenly honorable with one hand. However, Luo Shui was the first female emperor, and she had used her body as the formation core to protect the heavens for 12 eras. Just this merit alone was something that he could not ignore. Not to mention that although Luo Shui had become the formation core, she had not fallen yet. Who knew if she would come out in the future? Alright, if you want to protect Chu Kuangren, that's fine. But even with you, you only have 7 votes. I have 14 votes here. What if you include us? A voice rang out. A green-robed figure appeared in the void. The Taoist masters could not help but exclaim when they saw him. The first heavenly executioner. TSK. I can't believe he's here too. Interesting. This Chu Kuangren is quite powerful. The Dharma Taoist master, heavenly executioner, and Luo Shui are all standing up for him. The green-robed man, who was the first heavenly executioner, smiled and said, "This person possesses the power of heavenly punishment, and I'm curious about his transformation. So we, the heavenly executioners, will protect him." The mysterious Yellow Path Master's face darkened. Seeing that he didn't reply for a long time, the green-robed man frowned. "What's wrong? Don't tell me we don't even have this little bit of weight?" Or do you think that the heaven's executioner can no longer intimidate you? The green-robed man's tone gradually deepened. In the depths of the universe, several terrifying auras erupted. Ha, it seems like some people are getting arrogant. Interesting. Back then, when I was fighting the gods, some of you couldn't even hold your swords properly. Tao Lords, even though we're injured right now, but if we were to fight, then believe it or not, I'll trade 1 for 2 with all of you. I'll protect this child. If any of you dare to touch him, I'll make you pay even if I have to risk my life. The heavenly executioner's imperial will came from the cold universe. Cold killing intent filled the entire planet of heaven's origin sector. The expressions of all the Tao Lords changed. The 9 heaven executioners were the personal guards of the human king back then. Their achievements in the battle against the gods were still fresh in their minds. Xian Huang, tell us, do we have the right to vote? The green-robed man said indifferently. Yes. In the end, the Xian Huang Tao Lord could only nod helplessly. Very well, now it's 16 to 14 votes. No one is to stop this kid from continuing to merge with the heavens Taoist marks. The green-robed man said. Then his figure turned into countless light spots and disappeared. The Tao Lords did not leave. They stayed where they were and watched as Chu Kuangren continued to merge with the heavens Taoist marks. They wanted to see what would happen to him. The 10-day limit had long passed. However, because of Chu Kuangren's existence, the heavens Taoist marks did not close. That surprised the Tao Lords. Meanwhile, inside the dojo, the heavens Taoist marks and the heavenly punishment Taoist marks were gradually merging, forming a vast surge of heavenly Tao energy. The heavens Taoist marks were formed from a portion of the energy left behind by the heavenly Tao, and Chu Kuangren's heavenly punishment Taoist marks are also part of the heavenly Tao's energy. What will happen when the two of them merge? The things that this person has done are too unimaginable. I wonder how far he'll grow in the end. While the crowd was discussing, the heavenly punishment Taoist marks had completely merged with the heavens Taoist marks. Chu Kuangren suddenly opened his eyes. His pitch-black eyes did not have the slightest human emotion. They were as cold as ice. A majestic heavenly aura emanated from his body, and the Tao Lords at the scene felt like they were being suppressed by this heavenly aura. They had a feeling that it was ridiculous, that the person standing in front of them was not a human. It was the heavenly Tao. In the depths of the universe, several light orbs were suspended in the air. These light orbs were the heavenly executioners. They were also paying attention to Chu Kuangren, and when they saw his appearance after merging with the heavens Taoist marks, the light orbs could not help but tremble violently. One of the light orbs could not help but blurt out, "King!" On the heaven origin planet. The heavenly yellow Tao Lord, Dharma Tao Lord Luo Shui, and a few other Tao Lords could not help but narrow their eyes when they saw Chu Kuangren's current appearance. How is this possible? This appearance. Is this the human king? Impossible, impossible. The human king is dead, and he's been dead for many years. How can he appear again? The heavenly yellow Tao Lord's pupils trembled violently. For more than a dozen yuans, he had never lost his composure like he did today. Vaguely, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. Meanwhile, in the Taoist hall, Chu Kuangren was experiencing his current state. He felt as if he had connected with some kind of existence, and every move he made contained an unfathomable power. With a thought, Taoist rhymes began to sing around him. Dragons and phoenixes appeared. Golden lotuses danced in the sky. Deities and demons knelt, and the 10,000 sages worshipped him. An endless amount of domineering aura spread from his body. The Tao Lords could not help but feel their mouths go dry. With every move he made, heavenly Tao transformations appeared. This was no longer something that could be explained by power. Could this person really have transformed into the heavenly Tao? Shall AI analyze my current state? Chu Kuangren commanded in his mind. Yes. The omniscient spirit, Xiao AI, began to analyze. Master, you are currently connected to the firmament star's heavenly Tao. You can use yourself as a medium to exercise part of the heavenly Tao's authority, including the heavenly punishment, birth of living beings, and heavenly transformations. After receiving the analysis, Chu Kuangren was speechless. using the heavenly Tao's authority. What kind of power was that? It could be said that all living beings in Firmament Star were born from the heavenly Tao, and now he could use the heavenly Tao's authority. Did that not mean that he had become everyone's tyrant? At that moment, the Heaven Origin Dojo began to collapse. The Taoist patterns in the dojo were formed from the heavenly Tao's power, and now that Chu Kuangren had absorbed and refined that power, the dojo naturally no longer existed. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat when he saw that. No way. Will the Tao Lords fight me to the death? He swore that he only intended to study the Taoist patterns and perfect the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern. Who knew that these two Taoist patterns would suddenly resonate and merge together? Chapter 737. Chu Kuangren activated his heavenly Tao mode. He nervously walked out of the collapsed Heaven Origin Dojo and arrived before the Taoist masters. Then he saw a familiar figure. It's her. Chu Kuangren was surprised to see Luo Shui here. The Taoist masters gradually regained their senses. Chu Kuangren, what happened to you just now? One of the Taoist masters asked impatiently. Chu Kuangren answered honestly. Everyone was in disbelief when they heard that. How did you manage to merge with the Heaven Origin Dojo's Taoist mark? The heavenly yellow Taoist master had regained his composure and asked. I just comprehended it, then merged it. The Taoist masters were speechless. Comprehended it? Then merged it? Could such an answer be any more perfunctory? This kind of opportunity of fortune has its own destiny. It's hard to explain. Chu Kuangren, you don't have to say anything more. Come with me, Luo Shui said. Chu Kuangren glanced at the Taoist masters and realized that they had no intention of stopping him. He could not help but be shocked. He had just destroyed the entire Heaven Origin Dojo. Now that Luo Shui had said that he would bring him away, and the Taoist masters did not even try to stop him, it seemed that Luo Shui's identity was not simple. Chu Kuangren did not refuse and left the Heaven Origin planet with Luo Shui. Chu Kuangren, human ruler. What's the relationship between these two? The heavenly yellow Taoist master could not help but mutter to himself as he watched Chu Kuangren leave. Deep within the universe, the heavenly enforcers were also deep in thought. Why did he look so similar to the king just now? The king used the same power too. Perhaps it's because of the original heavenly punishment power. Anyway, let's keep an eye on this kid's growth first. The heavenly enforcers talked for a while before they fell silent. Outside the Heaven Origin planet, a battleship was sailing. On the deck of the battleship, Chu Kuangren and Luo Shui stood together. Luo Shui was the first to speak. You took my head and made me search for it for a long time. Kid, aren't you going to say something? Senior, you've misunderstood. In your state at that time, I didn't dare to easily return your head to you. I was still very weak at that time. If you came over and slapped me to death, wouldn't I have nowhere to cry? Chu Kuangren said helplessly. Hearing his words, Luo Shui chuckled. That's true. Senior, how did you become like that? Chu Kuangren asked curiously. When this was mentioned, Luo Shui's eyes revealed a strand of coldness. Kid, let me warn you. You can't completely trust Tao Lords. Especially that dark yellow Tao Lord. He's a hypocrite who pretends to be sanctimonious. Could it be that Senior became like that because of him? That's not the case, but it's definitely related to him. It was another emperor who attacked me while I was breaking through to the Empyrean realm. Fortunately, I was lucky and cultivated a secret technique, which was why I was able to survive after my head was separated from my body. Luo Shui said calmly. It was as if she was not the one who had been beheaded. Who's that emperor? Black-yellow Taoist master's disciple, the current master of Fortress 31, Heavenly Venerate Selfless. Luo Shui said. So that's the case. Chu Kuangren nodded and took out the Chaos Emperor scripture. Senior, this Emperor scripture was entrusted to me by the Chaos Taoist master to pass to you. Master. Luo Shui seemed to be in a trance for a moment. She looked at the Emperor scripture in her hand and shook her head. Unfortunately, I'm not a Taoist master yet. I still can't break the Emperor burying coffin and save my master. Aren't those Taoists going to help? The dark yellow Taoist master has a grudge against my master. He can't wait for my master to die in the emperor burying coffin, so why would he save my master? Why would he let others do it? As for some of my master's old friends, they're like me, protecting Firmament Star with their bodies as formation cores. Luo Shui looked at Firmament Star as she spoke. In the sky above Firmament Star, there was a huge golden light barrier. It was the great formation that protected Firmament Star from the Blood Tribe's invasion. It had protected Firmament Star for 12 eras. The Hatred Heavens. Very few people knew about it. Back then, a huge price had to be paid in order to set up this great formation. Including Luo Shui, the 9 strongest Taoist masters in Firmament Star had worked together to become the formation cores. Only then did the formation was completed. If we didn't become the formation cores, the dark yellow Taoist master wouldn't have the right to speak in Firmament Star. Luo Shui scoffed. Let's go. Follow me to fortress number 31. Since I'm back, there are some things that need to be settled. Fortress number 31 was where the heavenly venerable No Hatred resided. She was also the person who had caused Luo Shui to be beheaded. A few days later, a warship arrived at fortress number 31. Luo Shui went straight to the general's residence in the fortress. When he raised his hand, a golden palm print fell like a meteor from the heavens. With a loud bang, the entire general's residence shook. One by one, figures flew out. These people were all heavenly venerables. They stared at Luo Shui, and one of them said coldly, "How dare you offend the general's residence? Do you have a death wish?" Luo Shui said indifferently, "I'm only here to kill the heavenly venerable No Hatred today." "You want to kill the general? Dream on. Which fortress are you from? You're committing treason. The general has been guarding fortress number 31 for so many years. Who do you think you are to kill him just like that? Who do you think you are?" Luo Shui glanced at these people, and a disdainful smile appeared on her beautiful face. These people wanted to talk about merits with her? In the battle against the gods, she had slain countless gods that were sealed in the seal. Against the Blood Tribe, she became the formation core and protected Firmament Star for 12 eras. These merits were not something that the heavenly venerable No Hatred could compare to. Whoosh! A figure walked out of the general's residence. It was a middle-aged man in black armor with a majestic aura. When he saw Luo Shui, his eyes narrowed slightly. "You're finally back." "Since I'm back, you should know that you're about to die. Since you've contributed to humanity, I'll allow you to kill yourself." Haha, as expected of the greatest empress. Even though you're reincarnated, you're still as graceful as before. However, you're only a middle heavenly venerable now. Do you think you're a match for me? The heavenly venerable No Hatred laughed. Then, the aura of a half-Daylord erupted. Fool. With a lift of Luo Shui's arm, an incredibly powerful lesser world suddenly appeared, and suppressed all the heavenly venerables present. Even the heavenly venerable No Hatred could not help but be shocked. "It's true that I'm a middle heavenly venerable, but don't forget that I was once a Tao Lord. My understanding of the Tao is real. You want me to surrender? Impossible. Fight." The heavenly venerable No Hatred made his move. Similarly, a lesser world erupted from his body. The other heavenly venerables were about to attack too, but at that moment, an invisible barrier separated them from the heavenly venerable No Hatred and Luo Shui. Where did this barrier come from? Who's there? This barrier seems to contain the lesser world's energy. One of the heavenly venerable attacked the barrier. Amidst the explosion, the barrier remained intact. Chu Kuangren stood not far away and smiled at the heavenly venerables. "You guys should just watch from the sidelines." Chapter 738. You guys shall watch this battle from the sidelines. Chu Kuangren stood not far away and said calmly. Meanwhile, Luo Shui and Heavenly Honorable Heartless had already entered the void to battle. Their mini-worlds erupted and shook the void. The battle was intense. One was a half-step Tao Lord, while the other was a reincarnated Tao Lord. Chu Kuangren was also watching the battle. Once Luo Shui fell into a disadvantageous position, he would make his move. However, Luo Shui was indeed the reincarnated empress. Although her cultivation level was far from heavenly honorable heartless, she was able to fight on par with her opponent with her insights as a Tao Lord. She even seemed to be able to suppress her opponent. Looks like I don't have to do anything. Chu Kuangren smiled. Meanwhile, the heavenly honorables of Fort 31 wanted to rush into the void to help when they saw that their general was at a disadvantage. However, with Chu Kuangren around, they could not do anything. The heavenly honorables looked at each other. Let's deal with this person first. That's right. Let's go. The heavenly honorables flew towards Chu Kuangren, and one after another, their mini-worlds erupted and enveloped Chu Kuangren. All sorts of mystical techniques locked onto him. Dragon Exploring Palm. Divine Light Sword Art. Killing Fist Universe Shaker. The heavenly honorable mystical techniques shook half of the fort. Countless cultivators were shocked. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren, who was locked onto by the heavenly honorable small worlds and targeted by the mystical techniques, stood still and let the mystical techniques hit him. He gently lifted his arm, and mysterious Taoist patterns intertwined to form a giant vortex that absorbed all the mystical techniques. I told you to watch obediently. Don't you understand? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. With a shake of his palm, the mystical techniques that were absorbed were rebounded back at the heavenly honorables. Boom, boom, boom. After a few explosions, the heavenly honorables were sent flying. What's with this mystical technique? Premium mystical technique? No, I'm afraid it's above the premium mystical technique. Ultimate mystical technique. The heavenly honorables' eyes trembled violently. Mystical techniques were something that countless emperors could not understand in their lifetime. Since the beginning of the firmament star's cultivation history, not many people had been able to understand it. Now, an ultimate profundity had appeared before their eyes. Also, the usage of your lesser realms is too crude. Let me teach you guys a lesson, Chu Kuangren said. He snapped his fingers. In the void, faint purple chains suddenly flew out. These chains were condensed from the purest emperor qi. After being transported by spatial transportation techniques, they could move freely in the void. However, that was not the strongest aspect of these chains. The most terrifying aspect of these chains was that they contained Chu Kuangren's lesser realm. Chu Kuangren named this technique the World Lock. Whoosh, 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 the purple World Lock shuttled through the void. The Empyreans present simply couldn't keep track of the trajectory of the World Lock. They were somewhat flustered. What the hell is this thing? Damn it. The chains shuttled back and forth, binding the limbs of several Empyreans in a short while. They hung in midair, unable to move. This scene caused the hearts of all the cultivators in the fortress to palpitate. Heavens, that's a heavenly sovereign. The celestial sovereign is actually suspended in midair? How did he do that? Who's this young man? I know him. He's Chu Kuangren, ranked 31st on the battle points leaderboard with 100 million battle points. What? 100 million battle points. Our fortress's general only has a little over 70 million battle points, and he has 100 million battle points. Chu Kuangren. It's him. The cultivators in the fortress discussed among themselves. Chu Kuangren did not care at all. The Empyreans were suspended in midair with the World Lock, unable to resist at all. In the void, the battle between Luo Shui and Empyrean Honorable Heartless was coming to an end. Luo Shui used his Tao understanding that far surpassed Empyrean Honorable Heartless to forcefully suppress his opponent. After seizing an opportunity, a black longsword suddenly appeared in his hand and slashed across Empyrean Honorable Heartless' head. With a ripping sound, his head was separated from his body. Empyrean Honorable Heartless' head was tossed high into the air. Luo Shui used his longsword to catch the head and said indifferently, I can live without my head, but you can't. As soon as he said that, the Emperor's qi surged. The head exploded into a mist of blood. Empyrean Honorable Heartless had fallen. After slaying his enemy, Luo Shui walked out of the void. She also saw the Empyrean Honorables who were suspended in midair by the World Lock, and she could not help but reveal a strange look in her eyes. You're quite good at using the little realm. It's all right. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. When the Empyrean Honorable saw that Empyrean Honorable Heartless was killed, one of them yelled angrily, "All of you are dead! Empyrean Heartless is the disciple of the heavenly yellow Taoist master. Now that you've killed him, there will no longer be a place for you in the extraterrestrial battlefield. Just you wait for your deaths." Luo Shui did not care at all when he heard his arrogance. At that moment, golden clouds suddenly surged in the distance, and within the clouds a golden figure suddenly appeared. It was a man with a golden jade token in his hand and a crown on his head. Upon seeing him, the Empyrean Honorable laughed out loud. "It's the Taoist Master's emissary. The Taoist leader's emissary is here. You're all dead now." The man flew up into the sky and glanced at the Empyrean Honorable. However, he quickly looked away and announced, "By the Taoist leader's decree, from now on, Fort 31 shall be under Luo Shui's control. All soldiers in the fort shall obey her orders without fail." Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard the decree. Their first reaction was, "Who is Luo Shui?" However, they then stared at Luo Shui. "It can't be, can it? It can't be her, can it? Congratulations, General Luo Shui." The Taoist leader smiled at Luo Shui, confirming everyone's suspicions. The Empyrean Honorable, in particular, had their mouths and eyes wide open in disbelief. Not only did she kill Empyrean Heartless, but she also became the new master of Fort 31, their new superior. Could this be any more ridiculous? However, the truth was right in front of them, and they had no choice but to believe it. They knew very well. Luo Shui's background was most likely even more terrifying than Empyrean Heartless. Otherwise, she could not have done what she did. Chu Kuangren let them go. Luo Shui said, "All right." Chu Kuangren snapped his fingers, and the world lock instantly disappeared. When the Heavenly Honorables regained their freedom, they looked at Luo Shui and Luo Shui with complicated gazes. There was doubt and shock in their eyes. Since the Taoist leader had personally issued the decree, the outcome was set in stone. They had no room to refute, and could only obediently accept their fate. "Greetings, General." The Heavenly Honorables walked up to Luo Shui and bowed. They could not help but feel a little anxious. They wondered if the general would blame them for their impudence just now. Luo Shui glanced at them and said, "The grudge between me and Empyrean Heartless will not implicate anyone else. All of you are still the commanders of the general's residence. Just do what you're supposed to do from now on." "Thank you, General." The Heavenly Honorables heaved a sigh of relief. Then Luo Shui looked at the Taoist leader and said, "Go back and thank the Taoist leader for me. I'll accept this gift." Among the 24 Taoist leaders, the only one she was more familiar with and trusted was the Taoist leader. "Thank you, General. I shall take my leave then." The Taoist leader left after passing down the decree. Chapter 739. Luo Shui took over Fortress 31. And many people knew that the greatest empress of all time was gradually returning. The return of the Luo River and the taking over of Fortress 31 is a good or bad thing. What kind of impact will it have on the current structure? It would be fine if he's just an ordinary fort master. However, this person is the former Water Path Master. Furthermore, he's the Chaos Path Master's proudest disciple. There's an irreconcilable enmity between him and the Black-Yellow Path Master. In front of the blood race, I hope they can let go of their grudges. That's all we can do. It's just that, with the personality of the Black-Yellow Sect Master, is it possible? On a certain planet, the mysterious Yellow Path Master looked in the direction of the fortress in the distance. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. "What a Luo Shui! You killed Heavenly Lord Heartless the moment you returned. You're trying to show me your strength." The current Luo Shui was merely an Empyrean. He did not pose much of a threat to him. Moreover, he knew that even if Luo Shui had recovered to the Daolord realm, she wouldn't act rashly against him. At the very least, she would absolutely not do something that would cause the top-rate combat strength of Firmament Star to suffer, while under the threat of the Blood Tribe. However, this did not mean that he could sit back and relax. Once Luo Shui becomes the Taoist Master, he'll definitely rescue the Chaos Taoist Master. Coupled with the Dharma Taoist Master, When that happens, my influence in the firmament star will be greatly reduced. I can't let that happen. Luo River, Primal Chaos and Human King. Why are you guys always haunting me? The Dark Yellow Path Master murmured. His current status in the firmament star could be said to be supreme. In the extraterritorial battlefield, almost half of the 24 Taoist masters followed his lead. Hundreds of millions of firmament cultivators in the 81 fortresses were also under his command. He would never allow anyone to ruin all of this. Aside from the Luo River, I should think of a way to deal with those heavenly executioners and the former sovereign personage's personal guards. The heavenly yellow Tao Lord recalled the scene when the heavenly executioner protected Chu Kuangren. His aura instantly suppressed the other Tao Lords. It made him even more restless. Once the heavenly executioners fully recovered their strength and joined forces with Luo Shui and the Tao Master of Chaos, he would have even less of an advantage. They might be the best weapon against the heavenly executioner. The heavenly yellow path master murmured as he gazed at the distant firmament star. The other side. Within Fortress 31. In the general's manner, Chu Kuangren was sitting with his legs crossed as he tried to gain insights on the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern that had been fused with the Sky Natural Dojo's Taoist pattern. The Sky Punishment Tao pattern was even more perfect than before, and it gave him a feeling that it was closer to the mysterious heavenly Tao. The power of the heavenly Tao. Interesting. The state I was in earlier was connected to the heavenly Tao, and it was as if I'd become one with it. Let's call it the unification of the Tao state for now. Once I enter the unification of the Tao state, I'll borrow the power of the heavenly Tao. To what extent will my combat strength reach? Chu Kuangren was secretly looking forward to it. The unification Tao state, the ultimate profoundness, the immortal stellar physique, time halt. Chu Kuangren had too many trump cards at his disposal. He felt that even a Tao master could be killed by him. I really want to fight with the Tao master. Chu Kuangren was eager to try it out. As for the Empyreans, they were no longer a threat to him. At this time, the communication artifact at his waist suddenly vibrated. A message came in. Oh, it's Moonless Illumination. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. Moonless Illumination was a blood tribe heavenly honorable that he had controlled using the Soul Mastery Slave Seal not long ago. He had temporarily allowed him to hide among the blood tribe. However, at this time he received a message. The Blood King of the White Tribe has issued a kill order for Master. Also, the Blood Tribe is gathering their troops. A great battle is about to begin. There was not much information, but it was enough for Chu Kuangren to take it seriously. Especially the last sentence. A great battle was about to begin. The Blood Tribe was going to make a big move. Dong dong, dong. Just when Chu Kuangren was deep in thought, suddenly, the sound of a bell rang in the stronghold. His eyes turned cold. This bell is the precursor to the Battle of the Crimson Firmament. The Battle of the Crimson Firmament. This was the cruelest battle in the extraterrestrial battlefield. It was also the battle where the Blood Tribe gathered their troops and launched a large-scale invasion. Each Battle of the Crimson Firmament was a disaster for the Firmament Star. The number of cultivators who died was in the hundreds of millions. In the past 10 or so years, there had only been 7 battles of the Crimson Firmament. According to incomplete statistics, the number of Firmament Star cultivators who died in these 7 battles was as high as 120 billion. Now the 8th battle of the Crimson Firmament was about to begin. The real battle is coming. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath. When he walked out of the room, he saw that every soldier in the general's residence had a serious look on their faces. There were also some new soldiers who looked a little scared. In the main hall of the general's residence, the newly appointed General Luo Shui was holding a military conference with the generals of the other 80 strongholds through some kind of communication method to discuss the next defensive arrangements. The conference lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Luo Shui sat on the chair with a headache. I've just been appointed and I'm already in the middle of a battle of the Crimson Firmament. Hey, I'm really lucky. At that moment, Chu Kuangren walked in. How's it going? This battle is inevitable. Make your preparations. I've already sent the various commanders to deploy their troops. The preparations for the other fortresses are almost done as well, Luo Shui said calmly. How many of the blood tribe are here? This is the image from the front line. Luo Shui flicked his finger. A speck of light flew out and transformed into a light screen. In the light screen, there were battleships neatly lined up in the cold and silent universe. There were so many of them that they were uncountable. From small battleships that were a few hundred meters long to large battleships that were tens of thousands of meters long, there were at least hundreds of thousands of them. The number of blood tribe cultivators on board was even more uncountable. This is only the vanguard of the blood tribe. We don't know how many more there are at the back. This battle is going to be tough, Luo Shui said with a serious look. When will they arrive? In 10 days. 431. Countless cultivators gathered at the edge of the fort's barrier. Luo Shui was the one leading them. Her emperor's thought surged, and she had already sensed that the blood tribe's troops were a few 100,000 kilometers away from the fort. This distance was very close. Some emperors and heavenly honorables could cross that distance in a few breaths. Beside the Luo River, Chu Kuangren had also sensed the approach of the blood tribe cultivators. He suddenly had an idea and chuckled. Empress, why don't we give this vanguard troop a big present first? Oh, what do you have in mind? Chu Kuangren chuckled. With a lift of his arm, majestic Emperor's chi surged, and he unleashed a palm attack into the distance. The palm chi swept across the sky and disappeared into the void. In the distance, the mighty blood tribe's troops were advancing towards Fort 31. Suddenly, a palm chi descended from the sky. Amidst the explosion, a large amount of palm chi swept across the cosmic void. Dozens of battleships exploded like fireworks. Tens of thousands of blood tribe cultivators died on the spot. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! One of the blood tribe's heavenly honorables roared. His emperor's thought swept across the area, but he could not find anyone. That strange fluctuation just now was a spatial fluctuation? Chapter 740. Inside Fort 31. Some of the emperors and heavenly venerables had also sensed the blood tribe troops in the distance, and their eyes lit up. They looked at Chu Kuangren in amazement. Brother Chu, I didn't expect you to have such a technique. Normally, the further the attack range, the weaker the power. However, Brother Chu's attack did not weaken even when it was 1,000,000 kilometers away. TSK, this technique is just too powerful. This is too useful on the battlefield. Everyone soon realized how powerful this ability was, and Luo Shui could not help but feel excited. What's the limit of this ability of yours? Chu Kuangren chuckled and leaped into the air. Everyone, attack me. Everyone looked at each other when they heard him. Luo Shui trusted Chu Kuangren very much. Attack. Since the general had spoken, the others immediately followed suit. In an instant, all kinds of energy blasted towards Chu Kuangren. Sword chi, palm force, saber ray fire, frost wind and thunder. Dazzling lights shone in the cold and silent universe. Chu Kuangren was enveloped in these lights, but he did not seem to care at all. With a lift of his hand, the spatial conveyor technique and the spatial teleportation technique from the Book of Time and Space were activated to the extreme. Around him, a large portion of the void was distorted. All the energy attacks entered the void around him and disappeared. The next moment, they appeared in the sky above the blood tribe troops that were tens of thousands of kilometers away. It was as if a divine soldier had descended from the heavens, stirring up waves of energy storms. The blood tribe troops were caught off guard. One after another, their battleships were destroyed, and countless blood tribe cultivators were killed. D***, this is a spatial technique. Since when did a cultivator with such spatial techniques appear in the firmament star? I can't believe he can do this. This person's ability is too terrifying on the battlefield. F***ck, he's going to be beaten senseless before he even gets close. The blood tribe emperors and heavenly venerables were dumbfounded when they saw Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique. This spatial technique must be cheating. Quick, activate the battleship barrier. Heavenly venerables, activate your mini-worlds and disrupt the space. After a moment of panic, The commanders of the Blood Tribe began to respond to this sudden attack. First, they activated the battleship's defensive barrier. Then, the Heavenly Honorable Lord activated his lesser world to disrupt the spatial structure. With this method, they temporarily stopped Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique. However, Chu Kuangren's cultivation level was no longer the same as before. After a short pause, he had already analyzed the spatial structure of the Heavenly Honorable Small World and used his spatial conveyor technique to attack again. Although it was not as accurate as before. However, the vampires were densely packed and could easily hit their targets. Even with the warship's protection, they still suffered waves of damage. Humph. At this moment, a cold snort sounded from one of the warships. Following that, a blood-colored spear pierced through the air. In the blink of an eye, it had traversed a distance of millions of miles and was aimed at Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, who was in the midst of casting the spatial conveyor technique, naturally noticed the incoming spear. However, before he could react, Luo Shui had already blocked his path and swung his long saber at the spear. With a loud explosion, the surrounding void was swept up into a violent storm. The spear was sent flying hundreds of miles away by Luo Shui before it was caught by a hand. Unknowingly, a Blood Tribe cultivator dressed in blood-colored robes had appeared in front of everyone with a terrifying aura emanating from his body. A half-step Dao Lord. Chu Kuangren narrowed his eyes. Gradually, figures began to appear behind that person. They were the Blood Tribe's Heavenly Honorables. These Heavenly Honorables stared at Chu Kuangren with cold murderous intent. Good lad, I didn't expect a spatial cultivator like you to appear in Firmament Star. If we don't kill you first, I'm afraid the stronghold will be in trouble. That's right. We must eliminate this person first. The Heavenly Honorables crossed the millions of miles and arrived at the stronghold. Behind them, the countless cultivators of the Blood Tribe also drove their warships and rushed over as fast as they could against the energy attacks. Luo Shui said to Chu Kuangren, "Leave them to us." All right. Chu Kuangren nodded. He was not afraid of these Heavenly Honorables and half-step Dao Lords at all. However, he had chosen the method with the least casualties. First, he would deal with the Blood Tribe cultivators in large numbers to secure the upper hand in this battle. That way, the stronghold's cultivators would have an easier time dealing with them. Boom. The half-step Dao Lord of the Blood Tribe clashed with Luo Shui. The rest of the Heavenly Honorables also went up against their respective opponents. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren continued to use his spatial conveyor technique to attack the Blood Tribe's army from all directions, decimating the enemy's numbers. By the time the army arrived at the stronghold, less than half of the tens of thousands of warships were left. Attack! Attack! This was followed by a series of furious roars. The soldiers inside the stronghold rushed out. Warships collided with each other in the universe, and the emperors also clashed with each other. In the dark universe, all sorts of energy lights shone upon each other. It was beautiful, dreamy and cruel. The war had broken out. Sword Chi Clone. Chu Kuangren stood in midair. Facing the densely packed Blood Tribe cultivators, he used the Sword Chi Clone that he had never used before. With his current cultivation level, he could unleash this Emperor technique even better than the creator of this Emperor technique, the Mindful Emperor. Tens of thousands of Sword Chi clones spread out from Chu Kuangren's body and spread across the battlefield. Each of these clones had at least the combat strength of a sage, and they were killing Blood Tribe soldiers everywhere. Since Chu Kuangren had used his spatial conveyor technique to attack earlier, only half of the Blood Tribe's army was left. Coupled with his Sword Chi clones, the 31st Stronghold's army had the upper hand. D*M in it. Not only does this guy know spatial techniques, but he also has cloning techniques. These are all great weapons in a group battle. Coupled with his cultivation level, he alone is equivalent to an army. His destructive power is too great for low-level cultivators. The Blood Tribe's emperors and Heavenly Honorables were speechless. After all, a war was not always decided by the top combat strength. Low-level combat strength was also very important. After all, even ants could kill an elephant in numbers. If this goes on, our soldiers will all die. Retreat. The half-stepped Lord of the Blood Tribe roared. Instantly, a large number of Blood Tribe soldiers fled in their warships. Run? Where do you think you can run to? Chu Kuangren chuckled coldly and unleashed his mini-world. The terrifying mini-world covered a radius of nearly 1,000,000 kilometers, enveloping the Blood Tribe's warships within it. There was nowhere to run. D****. The half-stepped Lord of the Blood Tribe was shocked. While he was distracted, Luo Shui's saber had already slashed at his neck. Not good. The half-stepped Lord's eyes narrowed as he blocked the attack with his spear. The saber and spear clashed. However, a huge force erupted and directly smashed the spear in his hand away. This saber had directly chopped off his head. With the death of their commander, the outcome of this battle was decided. Annihilate the Blood Tribe. Luo Shui roared, and his voice echoed throughout the battlefield. The morale of the 31st stronghold was greatly boosted. The battle lasted for an entire day. Almost none of the Blood Tribe troops were spared. They were all annihilated. Chapter 741. General, in this battle we've destroyed more than 8,160 Blood Tribe warships, and killed close to 120 million Blood Tribe soldiers. This includes more than 130 Blood Tribe emperors and 11 heavenly honorables. A commander was reporting the battle situation to Luo Shui. What about our casualties? Luo Shui asked. 167 warships were destroyed. We lost more than 8 million soldiers, 11 emperors, and no heavenly honorables. Even the commander found it hard to believe when he finished. This number of casualties was too low. The Blood Tribe's casualties were dozens of times higher than theirs. Yes. Luo Shui nodded and looked at Chu Kuangren, who was not far away. She understood that Chu Kuangren's role in this battle was not to be ignored. Without his spatial conveyor technique and sword chi clones, their casualties would be at least 10 times higher. Brother Chu's abilities are too powerful on the battlefield. Yes, not bad. Luo Shui nodded. But we can't let our guard down. This is only the vanguard of the Blood Tribe. The battles to come will still be difficult. The Battle of the Crimson Firmament was a war of attrition. It could even last for decades. This was only the first battle. It was not even an appetizer. Then Luo Shui received battle reports from the other fortresses. Other than the 31st fortress, the other fortresses had also repelled the Blood Tribe's first wave of attack. After all, this first wave of attack was only a test by the Blood Tribe. The real main force had not arrived yet. Even the Dao Lords had not made a move yet. Even so, the major fortresses had suffered more or less losses. The fortress that suffered the heaviest losses had even lost several heavenly honorables. And even the fort master had suffered significant damage. Under such circumstances, the fact that Fortress 31's losses were so negligible made it stand out even more. When they learned that it was all because of Chu Kuangren, the other fort masters were amazed and exclaimed that Luo Shui had gained a good helper. Fortress 31, you have to be careful. Although you have a helper like fellow Chu, the Blood Tribe is coming at you with great ferocity this time. Their next attack will definitely target fellow Chu, the Blood Tribe warned. Luo Shui was in a meeting with the generals of the other fortresses. Among them, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable said solemnly. Luo Shui nodded to show that he understood. In the vast universe, there was a huge fleet of battleships. On one of the warships, 13 people were sitting around a huge round table, discussing something. These 13 people were the 13 Blood Kings of the Blood Tribe. There were dozens of light screens in front of the 13 Blood Monarchs. The light screens displayed the battle scenes sent back from the front lines. Alright, this is the battle report from the front lines. Now tell us what you think, said a Blood King indifferently. And this person was the strongest of the 13 Blood Kings, Wisdom King. I don't have any opinions on the other strongholds, but can anyone tell me what's going on with Stronghold 31? He actually lost so quickly. A black-robed Blood King said curiously. In the blink of an eye, a light screen appeared in front of everyone. A white-robed figure appeared on the screen. His clothes were as white as snow, untainted by even a speck of dust. His black hair reached his waist, and he was peerlessly handsome, like a celestial being. Oh, who's this guy? He's so handsome. I really want to capture him and play with him day and night. The Charm King, the only female among the 13 Blood Kings, could not help but light up when she saw Chu Kuangren's image. At that moment, a cold murderous intent erupted. It came from one of the Blood Kings. A strange look flashed across the Blood King's eyes. When they looked at Chu Kuangren again, they already had a guess. Could this person be the one that King White is after? Interesting. The person who exuded murderous intent was the White King. He was also Bai Juexin's father. Alright, let's get back to business. The reason why the people who went to attack Stronghold 31 failed so quickly was because of this person. This person's name is Chu Kuangren, and he specializes in spatial techniques. Wisdom King told them everything he knew about Chu Kuangren. When everyone heard that, a hint of seriousness appeared in their eyes. If Chu Kuangren's abilities were used well on the battlefield, he would definitely be a huge threat to the Blood Tribe. If it weren't for the Taoist master, even the strongest heavenly honorable wouldn't have any confidence in defeating this person. One of the Blood Kings said, now that the Taoist master has taken action, the Firmament Star's Taoist masters won't just sit and wait for their deaths. I plan to send a few half-step Taoist masters with the Realm Sealing Seal to Stronghold 31. What do you guys think? Wisdom King said, oh, the Realm Sealing Seal is a Taoist weapon. Sure. That's a foolproof plan. I want this person to pay for my son's death. White Corpse, you should join in this battle too. King White said to the void behind him. An ugly man with a pale face and a slightly swollen body walked out and nodded. White Corpse will not disappoint you. Oh, is the White Corpse, the strongest cultivator below the Taoist master, going to fight personally? Don't let us down. Rumor has it that the White Corpse's body is indestructible, and his physical strength is the strongest among the Blood Tribe. I'm looking forward to this battle. The few Blood Kings sized up the White Corpse with great interest. Then the Blood Kings made arrangements for the second wave of attack. A few days later, the second battle had begun. In Fort 31, Chu Kuangren and the others had also noticed the approaching Blood Tribe troops. This time, the number of warships was more than double of the previous ones. Brother Chu will have to trouble you. Luo Shui said to Chu Kuangren. All right, leave it to me. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. He wanted to repeat what he had done earlier and use the spatial conveyor technique to attack his opponent. However, at that moment, more than 10 light figures dashed towards him. Without exception, all of them were heavenly honorables. At the same time, one of the figures locked onto Chu Kuangren and unleashed a punch. An extremely terrifying fist wind swept out. Chu Kuangren shattered it with a lift of his arm. He looked at the figure who had attacked him. That person's face was pale, and his body was swollen and ugly. However, Chu Kuangren could sense an extremely terrifying power from that body. That power was not spiritual power or Emperor's Qi. Instead, it was pure physical strength that he was familiar with. Oh, this is interesting. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. By then, the other heavenly honorables had already engaged the heavenly honorables in the fort. Luo Shui was also facing off against a half-step Taoist lord. However, there were still 3 half-step Taoist lords and the swollen Blood Tribe cultivator who had surrounded Chu Kuangren. Is this how you deal with me? Today you shall die here. One of the half-step Taoist lords took out a blood-red imperial seal and tossed it into the air. In an instant, a powerful surge of energy spread out from that imperial seal. Beams of light formed around it and intertwined in the void, forming a giant cage-like enchantment that trapped Chu Kuangren within. Chu Kuangren instantly felt that the spatial structure around him had been strengthened by more than 10 times. His spatial conveyor technique had been restricted. That's a Dao weapon. Not far away, Luo Shui's eyes narrowed. A Dao weapon was equivalent to a Taoist lord among cultivators. Its power was far stronger than an emperor weapon. Chapter 742. The Realm Sealing Seal formed a cage enchantment that trapped Chu Kuangren within, preventing him from using his spatial abilities. On the other hand, a few half-step Dao lords were glaring fiercely at him from the surroundings. Their gazes were piercingly cold. and their killing intent surged incessantly like tidewater. Far away, behind the blood breeds, the 13 blood monarchs were observing the battle through certain means. The world sealing seal is a Tao artifact that can control space. Now he won't be able to use his spatial techniques anymore. Add to that the fact that 4 half-step Tao lords are surrounding him. He'll definitely die in this battle, said one of the Blood Kings. The other Blood Kings also looked like they had victory in their grasp. It's a pity that I can't personally kill this person. King White snorted. At the side, the Charm King sighed and said, "What a pity. Such a handsome and charming person is going to be gone just like that." Who told him to go against us? On the battlefield, Chu Kuangren was facing 4 half-Taoist lords alone. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his expression calm. He even hooked his finger at them. "Come, let me see what you're capable of." You're courting death." One of the half-step Tao lords snorted coldly. In an instant, a pitch-black long saber appeared in his hand. He swung it at Chu Kuangren at an incredible speed, and arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. The descendant self-sword at Chu Kuangren's waist was instantly unsheathed. Clang! A stunning sword light suddenly bloomed. Following that, the crowd watched as the half-Taoist lord who was charging at Chu Kuangren was sent flying at an even faster speed before he crashed into the enchanted boundary. How could this be? The half-step Tao lord stared with disbelief at the bloody gash on his chest, and a large amount of blood was spraying out incessantly. He was severely injured with just one strike. One of the half-step Tao lords of the blood beast race roared. Besides spatial techniques, this person's cultivation can't be underestimated. Everyone attacked together. Open the small world. In an instant, the other 3 half-Tao lords, excluding the white corpse, unleashed their mini-worlds and charged towards Chu Kuangren. However, as Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, an even more powerful lesser world erupted, instantly crushing all 3 of their lesser worlds. In terms of small worlds, none of you can compare to me. How terrifying was Chu Kuangren's lesser world now? His comprehension of the Tao wasn't inferior to a Tao lord's, and his foundation was at the extreme stage of imperial energy, coupled with the fact that he'd completely refined the quintessence of the secret world. When he unleashed his minor world, not to mention a half-step Tao lord, even a Tao lord might not be able to suppress him. Impossible. This person's strength is far beyond my imagination. The pupils of the 4 half-step Tao lords couldn't help but constrict, and then they madly circulated the imperial energy within them, and started to utilize its profundities. Heaven-destroying slash. 1,000 rivers shattering star universe. Universe quake. Sky-breaking godly fist. The 4 of them simultaneously activated their strongest profound mysteries. 4 torrents of energy swept out majestically. However, Chu Kuangren did not move an inch from his original spot. He did not dodge or evade the attack. Instead, he gently raised his palm and said, "I'll let you all see what's so mysterious about it." Countless Taoist patterns intertwined in Chu Kuangren's palm and formed into a giant vortex. The 4 surges of surging energy were all sucked into it, and the terrifying impact was easily disintegrated. Then Chu Kuangren gently shook his palm. The 4 remaining surges of energy were repelled. The 4 half-step Tao lords were forced to retreat, and they could not help but gulp when they saw the faintly discernible Taoist patterns on Chu Kuangren's palm. This is the ultimate profound mystery. He has mastered the ultimate profound mystery. The half-step Tao lords were shocked. The 13 Blood Kings who were watching the battle from afar were shocked as well. However, that was not the only thing that shocked them. They saw Chu Kuangren follow up with another attack. He took a step forward, and colorful rays of light circulated behind him. The 10,000 Taoist avatar had condensed. The power of the various Taoist physiques fused together to form a terrifying aura that shook the heavens and the earth. Even the enchanted boundary of the realm sealing seal shook violently. That avatar had shocked countless people. The 13 Blood Kings were shocked. Even the 24 Tao lords were shocked. The entire battlefield even froze for a moment. That avatar is a little too strange. Not only that, but it's simply unbelievable. How can someone possess so many Taoist physiques? This is unheard of. Although the Tao Lords had some understanding of Chu Kuangren, no matter how many times they saw the 10,000 avatar, they still found it unbelievable. Now that the half-step Tao Lords were personally facing that avatar, they could feel the terrifying power of that avatar. Die! Chu Kuangren yelled. The avatar behind him unleashed a punch, and the fist chi formed from the power of the various Taoist physiques enveloped one of the half-step Tao Lords and blasted him into a mist of blood. Chu Kuangren was now an upper heavenly venerable. Not only that, but he was also a top-notch upper heavenly venerable. The 10,000 avatars' power that he could unleash now was incomparable to before. There are two more of you. Die two. Chu Kuangren's gaze was cold. The avatar then unleashed another 2 punches. Boom. Boom. 2 mists of blood exploded. Another 2 half-step Tao Lords had fallen. Chu Kuangren, hand over your life. At that moment, the white corpse had seized the opportunity while Chu Kuangren was killing the remaining half-step Tao Lords to approach him and unleash a punch. At that distance, the avatar could not save him in time. Meanwhile, the white corpse had also raised his physical strength to its limit. That punch was powerful enough to crush a small planet. Just in time. Let me see how strong your physical strength is. Chu Kuangren also unleashed a punch with his physical strength. When the 2 fists collided, it was as if 2 stars had collided. It set off a terrifying energy storm that crashed against the realm-sealing seal enchantment. What? The white corpse's pupils shrank. He could clearly feel that his opponent's physical strength was no weaker than his own. However, the white corpse's eyes turned cold. So what if you're a physique cultivator? My close-quarters combat abilities are far superior to yours. At that, the veins on his swollen body bulged like a horned dragon. His physical strength had increased to another level. Do you think you'd have the chance to get close to me if I didn't do it on purpose? Chu Kuangren sneered. Chu Kuangren wanted to test out his physical strength, so he did not dodge the white corpse's punch. Instead, he used his chest to block it. The white corpse let out a muffled groan. He felt as if his punch had landed on an indestructible piece of godly metal, and his fist hurt from the impact. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren felt a tightness in his chest as his sternum cracked. However, he recovered in the next instant with the help of the immortal body. Your strength isn't bad. Have a taste of mine. Chu Kuangren grabbed the white corpse's fist with his left hand and pulled it towards him. Then he punched out with his right hand like a cannonball. Bang! The first punch landed on the opponent's stomach. The white corpse bent over in pain, his face twisted, and his eyes bulged. The second punch landed on the opponent's chin from the bottom up. The white corpse's entire chin shattered and his eyes rolled back. The terrifying impact caused his brain to crash and he almost fainted. Chu Kuangren let go of his hand and activated the immortal stellar physique to its limit. With a cold shout, he punched the white corpse's chest for the 3rd time. With a loud bang, the white corpse's muscles and bones exploded on the spot under the terrifying force that was enough to shatter a star. The white corpse's body flew out and smashed into the enchantment. The entire enchantment shook and shattered into pieces. The white corpse was no longer breathing. His whole body was like a pile of white mud floating in the universe. He who was known as the best physique cultivator among the blood tribe was killed by Chu Kuangren in 3 punches. He did not even have the chance to use his close-quarters combat techniques. 4 half-step Taoist masters had fallen. All of this happened in the span of a few breaths. Everyone who witnessed the battle was shocked. Chapter 743. 4 half-step Tao Lords had brought the realm-sealing seal with them to kill Chu Kuangren, but they were easily killed by Chu Kuangren instead. Chu Kuangren's powerful combat strength shocked everyone. There was a moment of silence on the battlefield. Chu Kuangren stood in the air with his peerless white robe. He glanced at one of the blood tribe's heavenly venerables and pointed a finger at him. A gigantic finger shadow immediately condensed in the void, and within it was a small world. The blood tribe heavenly venerables who were targeted by the finger were terrified. They tried to escape, but they were hit by the finger energy. With a boom, a mist of blood exploded. The heavenly venerables had fallen. Retreat. One of the heavenly venerables roared. Chu Kuangren wanted to give chase, but he realized that the realm-sealing seal had suddenly trembled. The enchanted boundary had become even more stable. He felt a powerful pressure erupt from the surrounding space, and he felt like he had fallen into a gravitational vortex. Oh, the seal can still operate. Chu Kuangren looked at the realm-sealing seal with a burning gaze. It was as if he wanted to see through the seal and see the person behind it. The Emperor's chi surged as the 10,000 Tao Lords unleashed a punch. The surrounding spatial pressure could not withstand it at all, and the majestic fist energy directly landed on the seal. With a boom, the enchanted boundary shattered, and the seal was sent flying into the distance in a stream of light. You want to leave? Did you ask for my permission? Chu Kuangren snorted. He took a step forward and disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the seal. He raised his hand and grabbed, and the 10,000 Tao Lords behind him followed suit. After the realm-sealing seal was caught, it trembled violently, trying to break free from Chu Kuangren's control. However, it was forcefully suppressed by the 10,000 Tao Lords. It would be rude of me to refuse this Tao weapon. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Wisdom King grunted coldly while a piercingly cold expression flickered in his eyes. This time, their blood race hadn't just lost 4 half-step Tao Lords, they'd even lost a Tao artifact. This battle had given them a clearer understanding of Chu Kuangren's strength, and they now knew how much of a threat he posed to the Blood Tribe. If this person doesn't die, he will definitely become a huge threat to the Blood Tribe. We must think of a way to get rid of him as soon as possible, King Ming said lightly. We can't be rash when dealing with this person. With him presiding over Fortress 31, let's give it up for now, said a Blood King. That's all we can do for now. Send someone down to collect information on this person, including his friends and family. The more detailed, the better. Got it. The vampire troops heading for Fortress 31 retreated. In the absence of peak combat power, no matter how many cultivators there were, it was impossible for them to win. Fortress 31 had achieved victory once again, and it was even easier than last time. Basically, apart from the heavenly venerables fighting, the rest of the people were mostly watching and had no chance to make a move. Back at Fort 31, Chu Kuangren toyed with the imperial seal in his hand, trying to feel the spatial energy within it. This Tao artifact is quite good for trapping people. He put it away and planned to find a time to refine it again. Chu Kuangren, Fort 38 is requesting reinforcements. At this time, Luo Shui found Chu Kuangren and said. At the same time, she tossed a supreme elixir to him. It was a wartime supply to ensure that the cultivators would not run out of spiritual power. Oh, do you want me to go over? Yes. Luo Shui nodded. All right. Chu Kuangren nodded and swallowed the supreme elixir into his stomach. His universal cauldron physique also quickly began to operate. Soon, the entire supreme elixir was completely refined by him. They arrived at the center of Fort 31. There was a teleportation point here that was connected to the other 80 fortresses. The other fortresses also had their own teleportation points, so they could quickly deploy the troops of all the fortresses to help each other. Now the other fortresses were busy dealing with the Blood Tribe troops. The only one that could quickly deploy troops to help Fort 38 was Fort 31, which had suffered the least damage. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren alone was equivalent to an entire army. I'm counting on you, Luo Shui said. Don't worry, leave it to me. Chu Kuangren smiled and stepped onto the teleportation point. Fort 38. A bloody battle was taking place in the starry sky. Vast energy ripples spread out and shook the universe. The ones who fought the most intensely were the emperors and heavenly venerables. There were hundreds of emperors participating in this battle, and there were dozens of heavenly honorables. All of them were in a frenzy. However, the situation was not so optimistic for Fort 38. The number of emperors was constantly decreasing. The most crucial battle, the heavenly honorable battle, was not optimistic either. The general of Fort 38 was a half-step Taoist lord. However, he had joined forces with the other heavenly honorables to use a joint attack formation to temporarily trap a half-step Taoist lord from the Blood Tribe. This half-step Taoist lord was extremely powerful. He held a long spear in his hand, and when he brandished it, it set off terrifying gales. That spear, in particular, contained a small world. If an ordinary upper heavenly honorable were struck by it, they would either die or be crippled. This was an extremely powerful half-step Taoist lord. Whether it was his foundation or the quality of his Taoist techniques, they were superior to the general of Fort 38. Even though he had joined forces with the other heavenly honorables to set up a formation, he was still barely able to hold on. The longer the battle dragged on, the more damage Fort 38 would suffer, and this battle would be even more hopeless. D***M*. The general of Fort 38, Heavenly Honorable Mo Ling, gritted his teeth and defended against the half-step Taoist lord's attack. With a bang, the Blood Fiend race member stabbed with his spear and sent a horned firmament demon race member flying. Honorable Sky Bull. D***M*. Hu Fei, who was also a demon, grimaced. She waved her hand, and with a long howl, she transformed into her heavenly fox form. The heavenly fox, whose body was the size of a small mountain, charged out and headbutt the blood beast, sending him flying. The 9 white tails behind her were also waving frantically, attacking the blood beasts like 9 divine weapons. Get out of my way, you stinking fox! The blood beast roared and hurled the spear in his hand. The terrifying power of a small world erupted, breaking through the 9 fox tails and slamming into Hu Fei, sending her flying while coughing up blood. Hu Fei. The 2 strongest heavenly honorables in the fort were injured one after another. Heavenly Honorable Mo Ling roared and transformed into his firmament demon form. It was a 9-headed serpent ferocious beast. It was Jiuing. The power of fire and water filled the entire world as he battled the blood beast, but it didn't take long for 3 of his heads to be chopped off. Haha, you bunch of beasts. I'm going to kill you all today, then take over this fort and earn a great merit. The half-step Taoist lord roared with laughter, extremely pleased with himself. With that, he slashed his spear down at Heavenly Honorable Mo Ling. I think you're dreaming. A voice resounded. A gorgeous white jade sword flew over from afar. The sword chi swept for millions of kilometers, killing blood beast after blood beast in its path. What? Chapter 744. The longsword, along with its majestic sword chi, came from millions of kilometers away. It forced the half-step Tao Lord of the Blood Fiend tribe to withdraw his attack on Heavenly Venerable Mo Ling, and block the attack first. Break! The Blood Fiend tribe roared and thrust his spear forward. 2 surges of energy collided like 2 cosmic storms, and the purple sword chi and blood-colored energy intertwined. Large amounts of Taoist patterns swirled, and covered most of the universe. In the next moment, the violet sword energy shattered the blood-red energy, and smashed into the blood beast race's half-step Tao Lord, sending him flying for 1,000,000 kilometers before he smashed into a small planet. Bang! Sparks erupted like dazzling fireworks as the small planet exploded and transformed into cosmic dust. Who is it? A furious voice resounded throughout the universe. The Blood Fiend tribe dashed out from the cosmic dust. His armor had been torn apart by the sword chi, and his body was still covered in sparks. His blood-red eyes were filled with violence as he stared into the distance. The white jade longsword turned into a stream of light, and shuttled between the stars before it finally returned to a slender, fair hand. The newcomer was dressed in white and had black hair. He was extremely handsome, and compared to the hideous face of the Blood Fiend tribe, his eyes were calm. Brother Chu. Thank goodness, Brother Chu is here. Honorable Sky Bull, Hu Fei, and the others were shocked. They had heard about Chu Kuangren's battle achievements. They knew that his strength was no weaker than a half-step Tao Lord. Hold on, why is Brother Chu alone? Honorable Sky Bull was stunned. It was true that Chu Kuangren was strong, but why was there only one of him? Could he really defeat the hundreds of millions of Blood Fiend tribe troops? The other heavenly venerables were dumbfounded as well. I alone am enough, Chu Kuangren said. Then he took a step forward, and the space before him seemed to have lost all meaning. In just one step, he was already in front of the Blood Fiend tribe. I don't care who you are, but you shall die. The Blood Fiend tribe thrust his spear forward. The spear was imbued with the power of the small world, and it was so powerful that it caused the void to distort. However, Chu Kuangren's expression did not change at all. The descendant self sword in his hand also contained a small world. The sword and spear collided, and the two worlds collided. The Blood Beast Monarch felt an irresistible force erupt from the white jade sword, and his spear was knocked out of his hand. Then the sword light flashed. The spectators watched as that formidable enemy that the joint forces of a few heavenly exalts and half-step downlords were unable to defeat had been beheaded. This person is so strong. This combat strength is really incredible. Honorable Empyrean Bull, Hu Fei, and the others were dumbfounded by Chu Kuangren's actions. At this moment, Chu Kuangren swept his gaze across the remaining blood tribe heavenly venerables. With a lift of his hand, he unleashed his little world and enveloped all the heavenly venerables within. He brandished the sword in his hand. Every time he slashed out, a terrifying sword light that tore through the heavens and split the earth, killing heavenly venerables one by one. Before long, the blood race Empyreans were slaughtered clean by him. Sword Chi Doppelganger. Chu Kuangren activated his Sword Chi clone once again. Beams of Sword Chi flew out from his body. As the Sword Chi danced in the air, it turned into countless clones that covered the entire battlefield. Among the spectators, one of the emperors was dumbfounded. F***CK isn't that my Sword Chi clone? F***CK it's him. That emperor was dumbfounded. That person was none other than the mindful emperor, who created the Sword Chi clone. With Chu Kuangren's arrival, the blood race's defeat was inevitable. After all, no one below the downlords was a match for Chu Kuangren. Soon, the blood race troops were wiped out one by one. Everyone looked at the white-robed figure with respect and admiration. Thank you, Brother Chu. Heavenly Venerate Mo Ling came before Chu Kuangren and thanked him sincerely. It's all right. Chu Kuangren reached out and cast the Spring Breeze healing technique to heal Heavenly Venerate Mo Ling's injuries. Then he lifted his arm and cast the Spring Breeze healing technique to cover a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers, healing the injuries of countless soldiers. This scene caused everyone to exclaim in surprise. Spatial techniques, a clone technique, and an emperor technique that can heal injuries in a large area. This man is practically the ruler of the battlefield. Heavenly Venerate Mo Ling said in amazement. However, Chu Kuangren, who had cast the Spring Breeze healing technique in such a large area, did not look as relaxed as he looked. He had consumed a lot of Emperor's Qi. Brother Chu, it's all thanks to you this time. Yeah. Hu Fei, Honorable Sky Bull, and the other heavenly venerates also came up to thank him. Hu Fei in particular could not help but gulp as she looked at Chu Kuangren's godlike figure. She felt that this man had made her even more fascinated. Brother Chu, do you still remember me? At that moment, an emperor walked up to him. Chu Kuangren chuckled when he saw him. Emperor Mindful, it's been a while. You're the first emperor I've ever met, so how could I not remember you? You were the one who taught me this Sword Chi clone. Emperor Mindful laughed, feeling proud of Chu Kuangren. This emperor technique has truly flourished in your hands. It's many times more powerful than when it was in my hands. I'm completely convinced. He was truly convinced. The last time his emperor's thought met Chu Kuangren was more than 10 years ago. However, in that short time, Chu Kuangren had grown from a puny honorable to the point where he could kill a half-step downlord. He would not have imagined this even if he was beaten to death. The situation at Fort 38 had more or less stabilized. However, Chu Kuangren did not stay idle. He did not return to Fort 31. Instead, he wandered around the major fortresses as a lone soldier, going wherever the situation was critical. With his unparalleled strength, elusive spatial conveyor technique, Sword Chi clones and many other techniques, his active performance on the battlefield was witnessed by everyone, and they were all extremely shocked. Battlefield Dominator, White-Robed Battle God, Sword God, King of Lone Soldiers, Spatial Controller, and so on one after another, titles fell on his head. Chu Kuangren's reputation on the battlefield had reached its peak. 3 months later, Fort 31. Chu Kuangren sat cross-legged on a warship, quickly absorbing the impure spiritual chi in the universe and converting it into Emperor's chi. With the universal cauldron physique, the process was very fast. It was not only the universal cauldron physique, but also the power of faith. He realized that the more active he was on the battlefield, the more intense the power of faith became. After all, he had fought countless battles in the past few months, and many people regarded him as a deity on the battlefield. Our battlefield dominator, white-robed battle god, king of lone soldiers and spatial controller. How's your recovery, sword god? A teasing voice came from beside him. Luo Shui slowly walked over. Chu Kuangren chuckled at her words. First female emperor of all time, Luo Shui. Is there anything I can help you with? Nothing much. I just wanted to tell you that the Blood Tribe's attacks have weakened quite a bit recently. They'll probably stop for a few days, Luo Shui said. But they won't stop for long. Yes, of course. In the past, the Crimson Firmament battles lasted at least 13 years. It's only been a few months now. That's right. Look, the combat leaderboard has been updated. At that moment, a voice came from a soldier beside him. Chapter 745. The combat leaderboard has been updated. At that moment, a voice came from the side. Many people gathered around to watch the fight. Following the outbreak of the Crimson Firmament battle, many capable warriors had achieved many battle merits. Hence, the rankings on the combat leaderboard had changed. Look, our general is ranked 41st. Luo Shui was calm when she heard that. She had just returned not long ago. Although she had killed many enemies in the Crimson Firmament battle, it was unrealistic to say that her ranking was high. The 41st place was neither high nor low, it was just right. If she were to rank so high, she would wonder if anyone was killing enemies at all. Was the Firmament Star going to be destroyed? Quick, look at Brother Chu's ranking. Everyone said excitedly. Let's see. The soldier who was looking at the combat leaderboard kept swiping his finger up and down. Then he gasped. I found it, the combat leaderboard is ranked first. Battle merits. 1 billion. 3 billion battle merits ranked first. That shocked countless soldiers in the strongholds. Even Luo Shui was shocked. How many Blood Tribe warriors did you kill? Chu Kuangren pondered for a while, and thought carefully. I didn't really remember, but it should be around 1 billion. Gulp. Everyone gulped as their pupils trembled violently. In just a few months, he had killed more than 1 billion. Holy **T. That was even worse than a butcher. It's impossible to achieve such a scale of battle merits just by killing the enemies. Brother Chu has played a huge role in this battle. That's right. The spatial conveyor technique, sword chi clones, spring breeze healing technique, and other techniques have saved us a lot of casualties. Tisk tsk, he's not called the battlefield dominator for nothing. If the Dao Lords don't attack, no one is a match for Brother Chu. Moreover, the Dao Lords are keeping each other busy, so who would dare to attack? Haha, Brother Chu is amazing. 3 billion battle merits, ranked first on the combat leaderboard. The news quickly spread across the 81 strongholds. Everyone was shocked by this. The name of Chu Kuangren was now known to everyone. This is too amazing. It's only been 3 months since the start of the Crimson Firmament battle. But his battle merits have risen from 100 million to 3 billion. Not even the Dao Lords can do this. The strongest person below the Dao Lord. No, forget about being the number 1 person below the Dao Master. I feel that he can even be compared to the Dao Master. Not bad. As expected of the most demonic prodigy in the history of the Firmament Star. Perhaps, he can really change the situation of the extraterrestrial battlefield. Haha, battlefield dominator, you live up to your reputation. I'm convinced. For a lone soldier to reach this level, what else can I say other than being convinced? I'm really looking forward to his future. It only took him a few short months to go from 31st place to 1st place. This kind of advancement speed refreshed everyone's understanding. However, it was rare that no one was unconvinced. That was because the role that Chu Kuangren had played in this battle of the Crimson Firmament was no longer something that could be simply described with the word, battle merit. Everyone knew that. Once Chu Kuangren was allowed to grow for a period of time, 100 years or even 1,000 years, he would definitely become a force that could influence the foreign battlefields. Was 100 years or 1,000 years very long? One had to know that the war between them and the blood breeds had already lasted for 12 eras. 100 or even 1,000 years was nothing to them. Chu Kuangren was only 30 this year. He was still too young. So young that it was almost unbelievable. However, this youth gave him immeasurable potential. After 3 months of continuous attacks, the Blood Tribe's tempo suddenly slowed down. Although local battles continued, there were no large-scale battles, so Chu Kuangren was able to rest for a few days. He took advantage of this time to refine the realm sealing seal that he had obtained a few months ago. This Dao weapon was indeed extraordinary. It was a treasure that could trap people. If it was fully unleashed, even a Dao Lord might not be able to escape. Then he contacted Yu Xiaowu. Yu Xiaowu was a spy that he had planted in the Blood Tribe. He was a heavenly honorable realm expert and held a high position in the Blood Tribe, so he could usually provide Chu Kuangren with some information. Master, the Blood Tribe's frontline forces have suffered a setback because of you. They are now temporarily delaying their attacks and waiting for resources from the rear. Oh, resources from the rear. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Yes. Sometimes a war was about resources. As long as they had an advantage in resources, the Firmament Star would have an easier time in the future. However, if the enemy had an advantage in resources, Yu Xiaowu, do you have a transportation route for the Blood Tribe's resources? Part of it. Give it to me. Soon, Chu Kuangren obtained the transportation route from Yu Xiaowu. A glint flashed across his eyes. He called Luo Shui over and explained the matter to him. Is the information reliable? That Blood Tribe member is under my control. He won't betray us. Although we know the transportation route, it won't be easy to cross the Blood Tribe's battlefield and intercept them. Let me go. Chu Kuangren smiled. Can you gather so many resources? Some resources could not be stored in yin and yang rings. Too strong of an energy fluctuation would damage the space within the yin and yang rings. I've refined a secret realm. That secret realm should be enough to store all these resources. Chu Kuangren said confidently. With his elusive spatial conveyor technique and a secret realm that could store everything, he might be the best person to carry out this mission. Be careful, Luo Shui said. Got it. Chu Kuangren smiled and cast the spatial conveyor technique. He turned around and walked into the void, instantly disappearing on the spot. In the vast and boundless universe, there were more than 10 battleships sailing. They were the Blood Tribe's resource transportation ships. A ripple appeared in the void. A white-robed figure suddenly appeared in the void. It was Chu Kuangren. He had used the spatial conveyor technique to travel nearly half a light-year without alerting the Blood Tribe's frontline troops. Chu Kuangren smirked as he looked at the transport fleet before him. He then scanned the fleet with his emperor's thought to get a general understanding of the situation. There were many cultivators, but the strongest one was only a heavenly venerable. He was just an ordinary upper heavenly venerable. To Chu Kuangren he was not a threat at all. I'll gladly accept it then. Chu Kuangren's figure flashed and landed on one of the warships. Who's there? D***M. It's someone from Firmament Star. The Blood Tribe cultivators' expressions changed. However, before they could do anything, the descendant self-sword on Chu Kuangren's waist was unsheathed and slashed across the void. One by one, the Blood Tribe cultivators were killed by the sword. The descendant self-sword wreaked havoc on the warship. Countless Blood Tribe cultivators were killed easily. The other warships also reacted and wanted to help. However, they were powerless against Chu Kuangren. Soon, the fleet was annihilated by Chu Kuangren. All the resources transported by the fleet were stored into his secret realm. The first transportation route is done. Chapter 746. 14 Resource Routes. 14 of them. Billions of blood origin crystals and supreme elixirs are gone. What the hell are those useless fools at the front line doing? The enemy has already gone to our rear to steal our resources, but they didn't even notice. Inside the Blood Tribe's headquarters, one of the 13 kings, the far-sighted king, was so furious that his body was twitching, and his blood-red eyes were filled with violence. All the Blood Tribe members within a 10,000-kilometer radius were trembling in fear. The resource routes are top secret. Not even the higher-ups of the Blood Tribe know about it. How did the people of Firmament Star find out? The far-sighted king gradually calmed down after his rage subsided. The other Blood Kings fell into deep thought when they heard his words. Is there a traitor among us? That must be it. Find a way to find out who the traitor is. Also make a new resource route. No one but us is allowed to leak it. The far-sighted king took a deep breath. To be able to steal 14 batches of resources in just a few days without anyone knowing, I'm afraid only Chu Kuangren, who possesses spatial techniques, can do that. The White King said coldly. The other Blood Kings' expressions turned serious when they heard that name. They were also very wary of Chu Kuangren. Indeed. If we don't get rid of this guy, it'll be difficult to continue this war. Not only this war, but if this guy doesn't die, the Blood Tribe will have a hard time in the future, the far-sighted king said. How's the plan coming along? It's almost done. If that's the case, then let's begin. Even if we have to fight the Firmament Star's Taoist masters, we must kill this guy. Fort 31. Chu Kuangren returned after stealing 14 batches of Blood Tribe resources. Although there were many resources in that batch, not many of them were useful to him. Hence, he distributed them to the soldiers at the front line. Because of this incident, his prestige increased by quite a bit. In the past few days, his faith energy had been increasing. Refining faith energy was also one of Chu Kuangren's cultivation methods. It was not limited to the extraterrestrial battlefield. On Firmament Star, as the Black Heaven sect grew stronger, so did his faith energy. Based on the growth rate of faith energy, even if I don't look for other opportunities of fortune, I'll be able to ascend to the Taoist Master Realm in less than 3 years. Chu Kuangren murmured as he looked at the boundless universe. Advancing to the Tao Lord Realm in 3 years? Not many people would believe it if this was spread out. After all, which of the current Tao Lords hadn't spent countless years of accumulation to reach their current level? There were even some extraordinarily talented geniuses who were stuck at the doorstep of the Tao Lord Realm their entire lives. Advance to the Tao Lord Realm in 3 years? This kind of thing was too ridiculous. However, Chu Kuangren was extremely confident. He even felt that 3 years was a little too long. Fellow Taoist Chu, there's an urgent military report. At this moment, the Luo River arrived. Chu Kuangren was surprised to hear that. What military intelligence? Yan Honghua, you know her, right? Yes, what happened to her? Chu Kuangren frowned. Some time ago, when Yan Honghua was chasing after a blood-breed troop, she entered the encirclement of the blood-breed. Now, it is unknown whether she is alive or dead. The higher-ups are currently organizing people to rescue her. Luo Shui said. Yan Honghua was one of the most outstanding prodigies among the 81 fortresses in the off-world battlefield. If nothing went wrong, there was a very high chance that she would become a Tao Lord in the future, and become one of the strongest combatants in the off-world battlefield. The upper echelons of the human race naturally attached great importance to such a prodigy. They would not let her die just like that. Upon hearing this news, Chu Kuangren immediately contacted the Ghostly Blade Heavenly Honorable. General, how is the young general doing? They are currently trapped on the 64th asteroid, surrounded by blood-breed troops. It won't be easy for them to break out of the encirclement. Don't worry, General. I'll personally make a trip there. Yan Honghua was the future mainstay of the human race, and she was also a friend of the Ghostly Blade Heavenly Honorable. Now that she was in trouble, the Ghostly Blade Heavenly Honorable would naturally not sit idly by. Brother Chu, the 17th fortress still needs my protection. I can't leave, so I'll leave Huar in your hands. The Ghostly Blade Heavenly Honorable said solemnly. Don't worry, General. The rescue mission could not be delayed any longer. Chu Kuangren soon departed. Initially, there were a few other heavenly honorables accompanying him. However, considering that Chu Kuangren's combat strength alone was enough to take on thousands of heavenly honorables, those heavenly honorables were assigned to other battlefields. Inside the 64th asteroid, Yan Honghua and her red-robed guards were hiding in a mountain range. There was a red veil around them. This veil had the effect of blocking out the Emperor's thoughts. It was also because of this veil that they were able to evade the Bloodbreed troops' search. Yan Honghua looked at the red-robed guards behind her, who were more or less injured, with an apologetic look on her face. If I hadn't made a mistake in my strategy, everyone wouldn't have ended up like this. Young General, this is not your fault. Yes, if it wasn't for you leading us out of the encirclement, we would have died yesterday. Bai Lichuan said with a faint smile. Young General, there are too many blood-breeds searching this area. Let's leave quickly and find a place to rest. Bai Lixue glanced at the blood-breed troops in the sky and said, All right. Yan Honghua nodded and led the group away. In the forest, a blood-breed troop was searching for the red-robed guards. TSK, this group of women sure knows how to hide. They've been hiding here for a few days now. I wonder where they've gone. I heard that the general said that anyone who finds these women will be rewarded with 100,000 blood origin crystals. The eyes of a few blood-breed soldiers lit up. The blood origin crystals were equivalent to the spiritual marrow of the firmament star. They could be absorbed by cultivators and converted into spiritual energy and Emperor's essence. 100,000 blood origin crystals would tempt even an emperor. Let's not think about it. I heard that there's a heavenly lord among those women. Their strength is not something we can compare to. A blood fiend tribe soldier curled his lips and said, If possible, don't let us meet them. Otherwise, we won't even know how we died. As the soldier spoke, he brushed the leaves in front of him aside. Then, he saw a group of women in armor walking towards him, and the one leading them happened to be looking at him. The two of them stared at each other for a second. It can't be, it can't be. He really ran into them. The Blood Fiend tribe member gulped. Before he could do anything, Yan Honghua had already flown towards him. In the blink of an eye, the world spun. The Blood Fiend tribe member was beheaded while he was still in a daze. Found them. Quick, inform the general. The other soldiers' expressions changed drastically. However, Yan Honghua's reaction was even faster. She activated the Heavenly Lord Small World. Although she had just broken through and was not too familiar with the small world, it was more than enough to deal with this group of blood-breed soldiers who were not even emperors. In the blink of an eye, this group of people was killed by Yan Honghua. Let's go, Yan Honghua said to the red-robed guards behind her. However, it was too late. The fluctuations of the small world attracted the attention of the blood-breed powerhouses. Dozens of light figures flew over and arrived above the red-robed guards. I've finally found you. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.